subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
7 moved to another place to rest. At this time, the 3 of them sat together. Uchiha Sasuke took the initiative to speak and summarize the battle just now. Then what should we do? Haruno Sakura asked. In fact, she should be a very careful person, but with Uchiha Sasuke around. Haruno Sakura seemed to be unable to think. We need to decide on a code to determine each other's identity through the code. Uchiha Sasuke said he had already thought of a solution just now. 0.01340723014429058. Listen carefully. As long as the code is wrong, no matter what the posture is, it must be treated as an enemy. At this point, Uchiha Sasuke looked at Uzumaki Naruto. I will only say this once. Listen carefully. When asked about the ninja song, Ninja Machine, the answer should be like this. When a large number of enemies are in turmoil, it is a good opportunity to lurk. You cannot hide in a quiet place. The most important thing for a ninja is to grasp the opportunity, which is when the enemy is tired and relaxed. That's it. After saying a bunch of lyrics in a row, Uchiha Sasuke looked at Uzumaki Naruto's confused face and knew that his plan was successful. Haruno Sakura spoke confidently. Although the lyrics were long, with her memory, she could easily remember all the content. And Naruto couldn't help asking Uchiha Sasuke to say it again. The length of this code is obviously not something Naruto can remember after hearing it once. And you didn't remember it, did you? I remembered it after hearing it once. Seeing Naruto say this, Chun Liang immediately opened his mouth to attack. How could Naruto bear this? He shouted, "What? How could I not remember it? I just checked it for safety." Okay, I'll take the scroll. Uchiha Sasuke stood up and didn't give Naruto a chance to continue speaking. Hey, wait a minute, Naruto was about to say something, but before he finished speaking, a sharp voice broke through the control. The 3 looked over in the direction of the sound. It was the dark part of the forest. Because of the light, they couldn't see what was happening inside. And before the 3 went to investigate, suddenly, a gust of wind blew towards the 3 from the dark part of the forest. When the wind and waves stopped, 3 ninjas appeared in the dark of the forest, and a 2-meter wide and 30-centimeter deep mark appeared under their feet, which was caused by the wind-style ninjutsu just now. These 3 people are all adults, 2 men and 1 woman, and the woman is standing in the middle. Is the transgender Orochimaru and her 2 subordinates. On the other side of the mark, the 3 members of Team 7 who were attacked by the wind and waves just now have disappeared, and they have obviously hidden. Orochimaru was not surprised to see this. She just spoke to the 2 people around her in an imperative tone. You go play over there first. I'll be alone here. As soon as Orochimaru finished speaking, the 2 left directly. On the other side, Uchiha Sasuke, who was hiding behind a bunch of bushes, watched all this, thinking about how to fight next. Sasuke. Haruno Sakura's voice came from behind. Uchiha Sasuke turned around with a kunai in his hand and took a defensive posture. He said to Haruno Sakura, who was approaching him unexpectedly, "Don't come close. First, give a signal. Ninja song, ninja machine." Sasuke looked hostile. Although he felt that the Haruno Sakura in front of him was the real person, any slackness now could be fatal. Haruno Sakura was stunned when he heard the words, and then quickly said the signal they had discussed before. Very good. Seeing that Haruno Sakura successfully said the signal, Uchiha Sasuke relaxed. And at this moment, another voice came from not far away. It hurts so much. Sasuke and little Sakura. So you are here. It was Naruto, who was trotting over with a happy face. Naruto, wait a minute. Signal. Little Sakura followed suit and asked Naruto to stop and give the signal like Sasuke did just now. Naruto continued to smile and confidently said the secret code that the 3 of them had just agreed on. Whoosh! However, just as Naruto finished speaking, Sasuke had already shot a kunai at Naruto. Suddenly, both Sakura and Naruto were startled. Naruto, who fell down because of dodging the kunai, was even more dissatisfied and asked Sasuke loudly, What are you doing? You are not Naruto. You were the guy just now. Sasuke took a fighting posture with a confident face. Obviously, he was still very proud of the success of his plan. The person in front of him was definitely not Naruto. Uchiha Sasuke was convinced in his heart, but it was Haruno Sakura who saw Uchiha Sasuke attacking Naruto, even though he liked Uchiha Sasuke very much. But he couldn't help asking, "What are you doing, Sasuke? Didn't Naruto say the secret code?" Hearing this, Uchiha Sasuke raised his voice. "It's a problem if you say it out loud. Do you think that guy can remember such a long secret code?" Uchiha Sasuke spoke, leaving Haruno stunned. "If we talk about secret codes, what does Naruto usually say?" Uchiha Sasuke continued to ask Haruno Sakura, and was also explaining to Haruno Sakura. After Uchiha Sasuke's reminder, Haruno Sakura also reacted immediately. Yes, Naruto would definitely not remember such a long secret code. If 577 asked him, he would definitely say, "Sorry, I forgot." And Naruto's action of dodging my attack is obviously different from his usual habits. So, it's time to show your true colors, you fake. Uchiha Sasuke looked down at the fake Naruto sitting on the ground with a smug tone. The fake Naruto knew that she had been exposed. She laughed and then licked her lips with her long tongue. "I see." The fake Naruto was not angry at all. After she finished speaking, she directly removed her transformation technique and revealed her true appearance. Soft long hair, pale skin without any blood color, and a white robe. It was Orochimaru. "You knew you would forget. Why didn't you choose a shorter code?" Holding the bamboo hat with one hand, Orochimaru spoke with interest. Uchiha Sasuke didn't know what kind of pervert he was in front of him, and what a terrifying existence he was. He just looked straight into Orochimaru's eyes without showing any weakness and answered with a confident tone. "Because I know you lurked underground and eavesdropped on our conversation, so I used such a long code." Uchiha Sasuke finished speaking, wanting to see surprise or shock on the other party's face. But unfortunately, Orochimaru was still as interested as before, looking at Uchiha Sasuke, as if he was looking at an interesting toy. "Really, it's more fun than I thought." Orochimaru lowered his head slightly, and his deep eye sockets were covered by shadows, giving people a sense of oppression. As he spoke, Orochimaru took out the scroll and gestured to Sasuke and Sakura. There was a word Earth on it, which was the scroll needed by Team 7. "You want this Book of the Land, right? After all, you have the Book of the Sky." Orochimaru continued to speak, and after he finished speaking, he made a move that made Haruno Sakura dumbfounded. She swallowed the scroll hard and swallowed it. "Let's begin the battle for the scroll, a fight for life." As Orochimaru's voice fell, she placed her left index and middle fingers on her left eye and pulled her eyelids down. Suddenly, the terrible, murderous aura burst out from Orochimaru's body. This was a murderous aura that Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura had never experienced before. It was many times stronger than Hatake Kakashi's murderous aura, as if it had condensed into substance. This terrible, murderous aura made Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura deeply feel the feeling of being killed. That feeling made the two of them instantly tremble with fear. When the murderous aura passed, Uchiha Sasuke came to his senses. He didn't have time to think about anything, and the discomfort in his body made him kneel down and vomit. This scene was seen by Kamisato Tsukika, who happened to arrive. While feeling heavy in her heart, she couldn't help but complain because Orochimaru was probably doing it on purpose. To avenge the time when he was controlled by Uchiha Itachi's illusion and could not move, and could only watch his arm being cut off. "Isn't it too much to bully a child like this?" Kamiri Tsuka spoke loudly, looking down at Orochimaru below from the tree. Chapter 61, Orochimaru is tricked. The voice of Kamisato Tsukika reached the ears of the three people below, attracting Orochimaru's attention. The reason for saying this is that Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura are still unable to move at this time, and Haruno Sakura is even unconscious. It was only when Kamisato Tsukika's voice sounded that she slowly came back to her senses. "It turned out to be you. Interesting kid." Orochimaru spoke. She naturally knew Kamisato Tsukika. However, She didn't know much about Kamisato Tsukika, just to the extent that Kamisato Tsukika was a member of Umbu. As for Kamisato Tsukika killing Momochi Zabuza and killing Kuroki Raiga, Orochimaru didn't know. Saved. Uchiha Sasuke tried to turn his head to look at Kamisato Tsukika, and the arrival of Kamisato Tsukika made him feel relieved and grateful. Although this pervert woman is very strong, Uchiha Sasuke doesn't believe that she could be stronger than Kamisato Tsukika. After all, Kamisato Tsukika is someone Hitaki Kakashi said is not weaker than him, and she killed Momochi Zabuza, an elite Chunin, single-handedly. Such strength is already the best in Konoha in Uchiha Sasuke's heart. If such Kamisato Tsukika can't beat this perverted woman in front of him, then Uchiha Sasuke can't imagine how strong this woman is. It's really shocking that someone with strength above elite Chunin can disguise as a Chunin to participate in the Chunin exam. Then, tell me your purpose. If it's not so outrageous, maybe you still have a chance to survive. Kamisato Tsukika spoke and jumped down and came to Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura. The reason why Orochimaru was said to be an elite Chunin was naturally intentional. In order to reduce Orochimaru's vigilance and pass false information to Orochimaru. Interesting, I haven't heard someone talk to me like this for a long time. It seems you are very confident. Orochimaru smiled sinisterly and became interested in Kamisato Tsukika. But I can understand that, after all, you are not yet 13 years old. And if you have the strength of a elite Chunin, you do have the capital to be so confident. Then, let me see your strength. Let me see if you really have the power to decide my life or death. After Orochimaru finished speaking, a terrible, murderous aura burst out. This time he specifically targeted Kamisato Tsukika and did not affect Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura. Murderous aura? Interesting things, this kind of power related to will and spirit is worth studying. Kamisato Tsukika remained calm, came to Uchiha Sasuke and patted Uchiha Sasuke gently, allowing Uchiha Sasuke to recover immediately. Sasuke, you take care of little Sakura first and stand by for me. Kamisato Tsukika said to Uchiha Sasuke. Of course, this was just a polite remark. With Uchiha Sasuke's strength, let alone standing by to support Kamisato Tsukika when the battle starts later, it's already good that it doesn't become a burden to Kamisato Tsukika. Uchiha Sasuke nodded, quickly helped Haruno Sakura up, and then jumped back to a tree trunk. Interesting, really interesting. You're more interesting than I thought. Seeing Kamisato Tsukika ignore his murderous intent and appease Uchiha Sasuke, Orochimaru couldn't help but smile and licked his lips with his long tongue. Murderous intent has little to do with talent. It is a kind of mental attack method that a person naturally forms after killing. If you want to increase the intensity of murderous intent, you can only rely on continuous successful killing and the natural transformation of mental power under the experience of continuous killing. This transformation is indifferent to human nature and contempt for life. It is the confidence that one can kill the enemy. Why did Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura feel that they were killed just now? It was because they saw from Orochimaru's eyes that Orochimaru was confident that they would be killed. In Orochimaru's heart, they were already dead. And if this murderous aura can go a step further, Kamisato Yuawa deduced that it can form a certain field. Everyone has his own magnetic field, and all things in the world have magnetic fields. Some magnetic fields can soothe people's hearts and nourish people's bodies. People with such magnetic fields are born with strong affinity, which will make people unable to help but approach him. And places with such magnetic fields can be called feng shui treasures. When a magnetic field goes a step further, it will form a certain territory, which is what people call the blessed land of immortals and the cave heaven on earth. And if the territory goes a step further, perhaps a unique rule different from the outside world can be formed in the magnetic field, thus evolving into a world. Of course, these are just Kamisato Yuawa's guesses. His research on murderous aura is still very shallow, and even he himself does not have much murderous aura. The reason why he is immune to Orochimaru's murderous aura is because he has done targeted training. When Kamisato Tsukika first faced Sarutobi Hiruzen's full-strength murderous aura, she was also horrified and her body could hardly move. However, Orochimaru didn't know this. What she thought in her heart was that Kamisato Tsukika's hands were stained with blood during the 2 months in Umbu, creating terrible killings. In Orochimaru's heart, Kamisato Tsukika has become a bloodthirsty person. Then be serious. I hope you will let me have fun. Orochimaru spoke, and he had made a decision in his heart. He would also plant a curse mark on Kamisato Tsukika later. After all, the last genius he met was Uchiha Itachi. In Orochimaru's heart, Kamisato Tsukika's genius has surpassed Hatake Kakashi. Therefore, such a body is very suitable to be used as his reincarnation container, more suitable than Kimimaro, who is not sick. Kamisato Uehua didn't know that he had been regarded as a vessel of living corpse reincarnation by Orochimaru. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Kamisato Uehua was also excited. After all, being able to fight with such a strong man of this level is a good proof of his strength. Even in Kamisato Uehua's self-awareness, he rated himself as a strong man at the level of Senju Tobarama and Namikaze Minato, but this evaluation has no factual basis. Kamisato Uehua has not really fought with an old Kaga-level strongman like Orochimaru, and Sarutobi Hiruzen was just a sparring match. Then come on, let me see why you are so confident. Kamisato Tsukika also spoke, and the kunai in her hand had already flown out. Swoosh! So fast! Orochimaru and Uchiha Sasuke exclaimed at the same time. Kamisato Tsukika did not perform ninjutsu after throwing the kunai. He quickly rushed towards Orochimaru, ready to rush forward and start a close combat with Orochimaru. Orochimaru saw Kamisato Tsukika's intention at a glance, but he did not dodge or retreat to distance himself, but stood in place waiting for Kamisato Tsukika's attack. Obviously, Orochimaru was very confident in himself and did not think Kamisato Tsukika could hurt him. He wanted to consider Kamisato Tsukika's close combat ability. A jajaj. Immediately, the two started a close combat duel, and the kunai in their hands moved quickly and became a residual image in Uchiha Sasuke's eyes. This is the gap between the three people. The ordinary duel between the two is in front of Uchiha Sasuke. Chunin's genius eyes can't see clearly. If it were him, the two on the field would, no matter who it is, they have the power to kill him instantly. 01340-7230 Philo 144-300-170. This shocked Uchiha Sasuke, and he clenched his fists and opened his two Tomo Sharingan at the same time. Ordinary eyes can't see clearly, but two Tomo Sharingan can definitely see it. Uchiha Sasuke thought to himself, but after opening the Sharingan, he was even more shocked, because even with two Tomo Sharingan, he still couldn't see the fight between the two. He could only barely catch the afterimage of the fight. So strong. Damn, is the gap between him and me still so big? Uchiha Sasuke gritted his teeth, stared at the two people fighting, and suddenly felt powerless. I thought that after a month of special training, I had narrowed the gap with Kamisato Tsukika, but I didn't expect that the gap was not only not narrowed, but even larger. He and Kamisato Tsukika are no longer ninjas of the same level. On the battlefield, Orochimaru was very satisfied with Kamisato Tsukika's strength. Even if it was just a close combat duel, he could be sure that Kamisato Tsukika really had the strength of an elite Chunin. I just don't know how talented this body is in ninjutsu. If his talent in ninjutsu is as good as his talent in taijutsu, then Orochimaru should seriously consider whether to take Kamisato Tsukika away now. After all, he has been exposed. If he doesn't take Kamisato Tsukika away now, it will definitely be more difficult in the future. The old man, Sarutobi Hiruzen, will definitely keep this boy with him at all times. It will be a bit difficult for him to take action at that time. When Orochimaru was very satisfied with Kamisato Tsukika, Kamisato Tsukika was also very satisfied with Orochimaru. Sure enough, there is a big gap between elite Chunin and old-fashioned Kage like Orochimaru. Although they can fight each other, they are just fighting. It is almost impossible for an elite Junin to defeat an ordinary Kage, even the most ordinary Kage. Not to mention an old Kage like Orochimaru. Just like Hitaki Kakashi at this moment, he would be killed instantly if he met Orochimaru. Another example is Sarutobi Asuma in Shippuden. Even if Haiden did not take action at that time, he would still be easily killed by Kakuzu. And the Might Guy who has not started the 7th gate, in the 6th gate state, he can only defeat the weakened version of Chigaki Kijui. And that was when Hashigaki Kijui was restrained. And now, Kamisato Tsukika, who uses the power of the elite Junin, is not Orochimaru's opponent. The duel between Orochimaru and Kamisato Tsukika is more like playing with him. This gap can be seen even by Uchiha Sasuke, a Chunin. This made him feel scared and a little overwhelmed. That perverted woman actually has such a strong power. Is she really going to die here? At this moment, Uchiha Sasuke couldn't help thinking of escaping. At this time, Kamisato Tsukika was holding Orochimaru back. If he left little Sakura and Kamisato Tsukika behind and ran away, there might be a glimmer of hope. But immediately, Uchiha Sasuke cut off this thought from his heart. Even if he felt that he didn't care much about Haruno Sakura and Kamisato Tsukika, but abandoning his companions and running away alone, Feichiya Sasuke felt that he couldn't do it. But what should he do? Not to mention Uchiha Sasuke's anxiety. Orochimaru and Kamisato Tsukika stopped fighting for a while after another fight. He looked at Kamisato Uehua with satisfaction and said greedily, "Very good. Your close combat ability has indeed reached the level of elite Junin. No wonder you are confident to say that you will keep me, and it is not too much of a boast. But if that's all, then you underestimate me. At this moment, the person whose life and death is decided is not me, but you," Orochimaru said, and licked his lips with his long tongue again, with a perverted look on his face. "It seems that I still underestimated you. I didn't expect you to have such a powerful force. Then before I thoroughly understand the purpose of your coming to Konoha, I can't let you leave Konoha safely." Kamisato Uehua spoke, and his tone was still very confident, as if the person who was suppressed by Orochimaru just now was not him. Such confidence made Orochimaru stunned, and then smiled. "Interesting. It seems that you still have some incredible means hidden. Then let me see your confidence again. Let me see your trump card, whether you are qualified to let me surrender." Orochimaru finished speaking, this time without waiting for Kamisato Uehua to make a move. He took the lead in launching an attack. Behind Orochimaru, a huge giant snake appeared, with a pair of vertical pupils staring coldly at Kamisato Uehua, cold-blooded and ruthless. "Let him play with you first." Orochimaru spoke. "This is the snake he summoned from Richie Cave Summoning, with Junin-level combat power. Junin-level power is naturally impossible to be Kamisato Uehua's opponent, and Orochimaru also knows this. But he summoned this big snake not to defeat Kamisato Uehua. Of course, just to let this big snake test Kamisato Uehua's trump card. As a veteran Kage-level warrior, Orochimaru has seen too many strange ninjutsu. Even veteran Kages will fail in those ninjutsu without knowing the intelligence. For example, Haiden, a member of his former organization Akatsuki, possessed such a strange ninjutsu, and he also used it to kill many powerful ninjas. Seeing Orochimaru summon the summoning beast, Kamisato Uehua's mouth slightly raised. "Very good, this is what he wants." The thought flashed through her mind, and Kamisato Uehua had already moved quickly. When the big snake pounced on her, Kamisato Uehua dodged and came to the belly of the big snake. Before the big snake could react, Kamisato Uehua supported the body of the big snake with one hand and crouched with the other hand. 8 inner gates, 5th gate, Dumen, open. The next moment, a stream of chakra burst out from Kamisato Uehua's body, and Kamisato Uehua was almost instantly wrapped in red chakra. He punched the snake's abdomen fiercely. Bang! The huge snake turned into a ball of white smoke and disappeared under the eyes of several people. This was a few people who were punched back to Richie Cave by Kamisato Uehua. After this punch, Kamisato Uehua did not rush to find Orochimaru immediately, but stood still. If you observe carefully, you will find that Kamisato Yuehua is even distracted. In such a dangerous situation, being distracted is definitely not what an excellent ninja should do. But Kamisato Yuehua is confident that he can save his life, and he is not afraid that he will be killed by Orochimaru. So he was distracted. Use your soul to try to sense the flying thunder god spell that he had just engraved on the snake. This is Kamisato Tsukika's real purpose. He is plotting against Orochimaru. He wants to find the exact location of the 3 holy places Richie Cave from Orochimaru without using the summoning scroll. Chapter 62. 8 Inner Gates Open. Kamisato Yuehua's distraction soon ended because he had lost the perception of the flying thunder god spell. But it didn't matter. Although he could no longer perceive the flying thunder god spell engraved on the big snake, Kamisato Yuehua was not completely unsuccessful. He had roughly known the direction of Richie Cave in the ninja world. With this information, even if Kamisato Yuehua's subsequent plans against Orochimaru were all ineffective, as long as he kept looking in that direction, he would eventually find Richie Cave. After coming back to his senses, Kamisato Yuehua seemed to be in a good mood. He looked at Orochimaru, who was looking at him in astonishment. I didn't expect that your trump card is not a ninjutsu, but the 8 Inner Gates. Orochimaru spoke. He naturally recognized this technique, and he had studied it. But he didn't study it for long, and Orochimaru chose to give up. The reason is very simple. This is a technique that becomes stronger at the cost of one's own body. Practicing the 8 Inner Gates will inevitably cause trauma to the body. And if you want to practice the 8 Inner Gates to a very deep level, these traumas will always exist. In Orochimaru's eyes, the 8 Inner Gates is a completely worthless technique, especially since he is pursuing immortality. What he cares most about is his own body. If you want him to practice the 8 Inner Gates, you must be able to open the 8 gates permanently without damaging the body. However, this is impossible, and he has already tried it. So after knowing that Kamisato Yuehua's trump card is the 8 Inner Gates, Orochimaru is not so interested in Kamisato Yuehua. Kamisato Yuehua in Orochimaru's position in his heart plummeted. You actually recognize this technique. It seems that you know ye very well. Kamisato Yuehua spoke. Since the previous plan was successful, the next step is to fight Orochimaru in an open and above-board manner. Thinking of this, Kamisato Yuehua did not say much nonsense. He started his body directly and rushed towards Orochimaru quickly. His speed was very fast, which was beyond the range of Uchiha Sasuke 2 Tomo Sharingan's vision. In Uchiha Sasuke's eyes, Kamisato Yuehua turned into a red light that passed through the earth, dragging a long afterimage. And this speed also made Orochimaru's eyes light up. Although Kamisato Yuehua had disappointed him, there is no doubt that Kamisato Yuehua was able to practice to this level at this age, and she was also a very good embryo. And most importantly, 707 Kamisato Yuehua's 8 Inner Gates seemed a bit too strong. Normal ninjas open the 5th of the 8 Inner Gates. Gate, the body has been traumatized, veins on the head will bulge, and the body will give people a burning feeling. However, Kamisato Yuehua seems to have no feeling at all, as if she is not affected. But even so, under normal circumstances, the strength of a genin who opens the 5th gate will only reach the level of elite genin. And Kamisato Yuehua's combat power at this time is definitely beyond the elite genin, which is broken common sense. Kamisato Yuehua's 8 Inner Gates is very different from others. After realizing this, Orochimaru greeted Kamisato Yuehua while his mind was not thinking quickly. There are only 2 possible reasons for this, in Orochimaru's opinion. The first is that the 8 Inner Gates used by Kamisato Yuehua is different from the 8 Inner Gates he knew more than 10 years ago. After more than 10 years, one day, the master optimized this technique. The second is that Kamisato Yuehua has a completely different physique from ordinary people, and his body can withstand the trauma caused by the 8 Inner Gates. With such an inference, Orochimaru became interested in Kamisato Yuehua again, and he decided to take Kamisato Yuehua away today and take her back to study her carefully. On the other hand, seeing Kamisato Tsukika's strength increase again, Uchiha Sasuke felt mixed joy and reluctance, and his heart was very complicated. He was glad that after Kamisato Tsukika became stronger, the possibility of their survival would be higher. He was also unwilling to be weak and resented his own weakness. They were both over 12 years old and under 13 years old, and they both graduated from the ninja school. Why could Kamisato Tsukika have such strong strength, surpassing the elite Chunin? But he only had the strength of Chunin, not even the special Chunin. This made Uchiha Sasuke very upset, but he was thinking wrongly, or the 3 words Uchiha made Uchiha Sasuke too proud. How many people in the whole ninja world have such strength as Kamisato Tsukika before the age of 13? Not to mention the past 10 years. Even if we trace back to the advent of the Ninja World era, or even to the Sengoku era, there's only Kamisato Tsukika, Dadi, who has such strength at this age. Even Uchiha Sasuke's goal, his brother Uchiha Itachi, whom he admires and hates, does not have the strength of Kamisato Tsukika at this age. So, Uchiha Sasuke chose the wrong person to compare with from the beginning. Tsukika? Sasuke, little Sakura, so you are here. When Uchiha Sasuke was feeling complicated and sad, a surprised voice sounded from not far away. Uchiha Sasuke didn't even need to look up to know that the person coming was Naruto, and it was most likely the real Naruto. Because if other ninjas accidentally came here and saw the battle between Kamisato Tsukika and Orochimaru, they would not dare to stay and would definitely run as far as they could. Naruto is the only one who is so careless. However, it could be someone else. It could be the other 2 subordinates of that woman. Just now, Uchiha Sasuke saw that Orochimaru came with 2 subordinates. So Uchiha Sasuke cheered up and made an attacking motion towards Naruto with a kunai in hand. Secret code. Uchiha Sasuke spoke. Although he had actively told Orochimaru about his plan, he did not tell Orochimaru's 2 subordinates, so they could still be used. Well, sorry I forgot. And Sasuke, it's already this time. Why are you still talking about secret codes? Hurry up and find a way to support Uehwa. Naruto shouted, wanting to rush over to support Kamisato Uehwa. But even though he was a little careless, he knew that if he rushed in, he would only be a burden if he couldn't even see the fighting movements of the 2 people. Naruto's words made Uchiha Sasuke think quickly, and then he looked at Orochimaru and said, "It is obvious that the opponent's strength is not a genin at all. He must have some conspiracy to come to Konoha. So what we have to do now is to attract the attention of the genin and elite genin in the village so that everyone can defeat or take down this guy together." Uchiha Sasuke analyzed calmly, and he quickly thought about how to attract the attention of the Konoha shinobi. Soon, Uchiha Sasuke thought of the key. The location of the central tower. There are already Konoha ninjas there. This exam has been said before. Everyone's destination is the central tower, so there must be Konoha shinobi stationed there. Naruto, little Sakura, we will rush to the central tower in one go, regardless of whether we will meet other teams on the way. We must aim to go to the central tower or attract the attention of the central tower ninjas. Uchiha Sasuke spoke to Naruto and little Sakura, but Naruto objected to this idea as soon as he said it. No, how can we leave Tsukika here alone? It's too dangerous. Obviously, Naruto was worried about Kamisato Tsukika. However, Uchiha Sasuke spoke directly to stop Naruto from talking. Do you think that with our strength, staying here will help or hinder Kamisato Tsukika? After this, Naruto was silent. Yes, with their strength, let alone helping Kamisato Tsukika, it would be good enough not to hinder him. And if we separate, if we meet other teams along the way, we may even be killed by other teams if we are outnumbered. In addition, don't you think that you are harming Kamisato Tsukika by continuing to delay time here? What he needs most now is support. If Kamisato Tsukika has an accident when we return because of your delay here, then you can regret it yourself. Uchiha Sasuke spoke again. He was very calm and his tone was very cold, but what he said was the truth. Speaking of which, Uchiha Sasuke was actually a true genius, but his personality was too strong and was distorted by Uchiha Itachi. Okay, let's set off quickly. Naruto glanced at Kamisato Tsukika, who was still fighting with Orochimaru, and made up his mind. It was indeed as Uchiha Sasuke said. The longer they stayed here, the more dangerous Kamisato Tsukika's situation would be. After making up their minds, the three of them set off quickly and headed for the central tower. The actions of the three were naturally seen by Orochimaru, who showed a disdainful smile. Want to leave? A good hunter will not let the prey run away, Orochimaru said, and was about to chase in the direction of Uchiha Sasuke and the other two. However, how could Kamisato Tsukika let Orochimaru get what he wanted? He said, "It is indeed as you said, a good hunter will not let the prey run away. So how could I let you leave?" Once these words came out, Orochimaru felt it was ridiculous. I really don't know who gave you the confidence to say such brazen words. Do you think that just the fifth gate of the 8 inner gates can stop me? It's too much. After saying that, Orochimaru increased his strength and speed, ready to burst out with all his strength to get rid of Kamisato Yuehua. And this time, Orochimaru no longer just used physical skills. After he threw a punch and was dodged by Kamisato Yuehua, he suddenly shot out several Lion Majesties from his sleeves, pulling Kamisato Yuehua closer and ready to get rid of Kamisato Yuehua. This is Orochimaru's signature ninjutsu, the Shadow Snake Hand. For any Chunin or even elite Chunin who are not aware of this move, this is an unexpected killer move. However, Kamisato Yuehua had been prepared for Orochimaru. He knew Orochimaru's intelligence too well and knew all of Orochimaru's moves, so he was naturally prepared. I saw Kamisato Yuehua lean back to avoid it and stopped attacking, pulling away from him. Orochimaru's distance. What an excellent reaction. But if that's all, you can't stop it. Orochimaru was a little surprised and a little amazed. Being able to dodge his shadow snake hand at such a close distance was enough to prove that Kamisato Tsukika was definitely a Kage-level ninja at this time. Less than 13 years old, a shadow ninja. These two pieces of information combined were too amazing, making it difficult for Orochimaru to remain calm. This also made Orochimaru more eager to get Kamisato Tsukika's body. However, compared with other Kamisato Tsukikas, Inshi finally chose Uchiha Sasuke. First, because Kamisato Tsukika practiced the 8 inner gates technique. Second, he was determined to get the Sharingan. He must use the Sharingan to avenge that knife and defeat Uchiha Itachi in the field where Uchiha Itachi is best. He wants Uchiha Itachi to face himself and even look up to him. This is already his obsession, or it can be said to be his inner demon. If he can't get through it, Orochimaru felt that his future would be affected and it would be difficult to go on. Moreover, he also had his own pride. How could the proud Orochimaru accept being looked down upon by a child he had watched grow up like that? Indeed, if it were just like this, I would not be able to stop you from leaving. And if it were not for your fear and not daring to go all out, I am afraid that my current situation would be precarious. Kamisato Yuehua opened his mouth and only opened the situation of the 5th gate of the 8 inner gates. Although he was fighting back and forth with Orochimaru now, in fact, Orochimaru was not serious at all. After all, Orochimaru's strongest skill was not physical skills, but ninjutsu. Once Orochimaru unscrupulously displayed his ninjutsu, then in this duel, Kamisato Yuehua would have been crushed long ago. However, Orochimaru did not go all out, and so did he? Since he was looked down upon by Orochimaru, then he should be serious. The next is the real duel. You have to be careful, Senior Orochimaru. Kamiri Tsukika spoke, revealing Orochimaru's identity. I guessed it, but it doesn't matter. As long as I take you away, no one will know this secret. Orochimaru was a little surprised, but it was just a surprise. After he finished speaking, he was going to attack with all his strength. After all, if he didn't attack again, he wouldn't be able to take down Kamisato Tsukika. For the curse seal on Uchiha Sasuke, he had to find another opportunity. However, before Orochimaru moved, Kamisato Tsukika made her first move. 8 inner gates, 6th gate Jingmen, open. Boom! The green chakra was rich and dazzling, and the ground under Kamisato Tsukika cracked instantly. A wave of wind blew directly from Kamisato Tsukika's body and swept around. At this moment, Kamisato Tsukika's momentum increased sharply compared to before. The whole person already had the terrifying momentum of a real strongman, which shocked Orochimaru. He blocked the wind and waves with one hand and looked at Kamisato Uehua in the light with horror, his heart pounding. "Came on." Orochimaru was incredulous. It's not that he had never seen Jingmen before. He had seen the kid called Might Guy use it, but the difference between Might Guy's Jingmen and Kamisato Uehua's Jingmen was too big. This kind of external expression looked like two different ninjutsu. This should be able to stop Senior Orochimaru. Then, the battle for the scroll begins. Kamisato Uehua looked at Orochimaru and spoke. After speaking, her body turned into a green light and flew out. Chapitre 63, Deification Technique. So fast. After Kamisato Tsukika took the initiative to attack, Orochimaru felt the fear of Kamisato Tsukika Cageman firsthand. The distance between the two was not far, and she was almost approached by Kamisato Tsukika in an instant. After the fight, Orochimaru's color changed due to Kamisato Tsukika's power. This power is much stronger than before. The gap between the 6th gate and the 5th gate is so big. Orochimaru was shocked because Kamisato Tsukika now, she had to be fully prepared to fight, which had already posed a terrible threat to her. In other words, Kamisato Tsukika in the 6th gate state, in terms of physical skills alone, is no weaker than her when she goes all out and is even stronger. This made Orochimaru feel uneasy. The other party is just a boy under 13 years old, but he actually has such terrible strength. This is too incredible and unbelievable. But the fact is that Kamisato Uehua's attack made Orochimaru exhausted, and he was completely suppressed. Bang! Another punch hit Orochimaru directly, causing Orochimaru to fly backwards and crash into several trees before stopping. He looked at Kamisato Uehua from a distance, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and his face was gloomy. Seeing Kamisato Uehua attacking again, Orochimaru directly launched his own technique. Hidden Shadow Snake Hand. Instantly, more than 20 pythons flew out from Orochimaru's sleeves at a very fast speed, and these pythons even spit out sharp blades from their mouths, stabbing Kamisato Uehua fiercely. And Kamisato Uehua was not panicked in the face of Orochimaru's attack. His speed was too fast now. He avoided the attacks of those pythons with a few dodges and approached Orochimaru. This made Orochimaru feel difficult. He had fought with physical ninjas before, but he had never fought with a physical ninja as strong as Kamisato Tsukika. The thought flashed through his mind, and Orochimaru quickly retreated. While retreating, he quickly formed a seal while retracting the python in his sleeves. Boom! A gust of wind appeared out of nowhere and blew fiercely towards Kamisato Tsukika. This slowed down Kamisato Tsukika's speed. Although his body could stare at the wind, his eyes could not bear it, so he could only stretch out a hand to block the wind and wave for his eyes. At this moment, Orochimaru's neck suddenly became longer, and she opened her bloody mouth and was about to bite Kamisato Tsukika fiercely. But Kamisato Tsukika was not Uchiha Sasuke. Orochimaru was very fast, but Kamisato Tsukika was able to react. So after seeing Orochimaru's attack, Kamisato Uehua punched Orochimaru's cheek hard, knocking Orochimaru's head out and hitting it hard on the ground. At this time, the storm had ended. Kamisato Uehua moved quickly again and came to Orochimaru's side in a blink of an eye, punching him hard again. This punch hit Orochimaru's lower abdomen. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. When he flew backwards, blood spurted out of his mouth. It was obvious that he was seriously injured. Like a rag bag, Orochimaru lay on the ground motionless, as if Kamisato Uehua's blow just now had made him lose his fighting power. However, Kamisato Uehua didn't believe that Orochimaru would lose his fighting power so easily. In terms of the means of saving his life, Orochimaru was definitely in the first echelon among the entire Hokage ninja. I don't believe that the world-famous Orochimaru Sr. can be defeated so easily. After all, you are Sannin. Kamisato Uehua looked at Orochimaru on the ground and spoke. Orochimaru stopped pretending after hearing Kamisato Uehua say so. Suddenly, a hand stretched out from Orochimaru's mouth, and then another Orochimaru crawled out of that mouth. This scene was very scary. It can only be said that Orochimaru is worthy of it. There are too many underworld ninjutsu. Hee, you are really sharp. Orochimaru crawled out of the substitute and looked at Kamisato Tsukika and spoke. He was thinking in his heart, what should he do next? Should he choose to be completely exposed and go all out to take down Kamisato Tsukika, or choose to retreat first and find another opportunity to plant the curse seal on Uchiha Sasuke? If I fight with you, people who are not sharp should have died. Kamisato Tsukika spoke. Today's battle made him feel very comfortable, and he had never had such a hearty battle since he traveled through time. In fact, Kamisato Tsukika still has many ninjutsu methods that he has not taken out, including his own ninjutsu. The reason why he only chose physical skills for the duel was entirely because Kamisato Tsukika had not solved the problem of his chakra amount, and each of his self-created ninjutsu consumed a lot of chakra. Very good, Kamisato Tsukika. I will remember you. In the end, Orochimaru still chose a strategic retreat. He can indeed go all out to attack, but in that case, it would inevitably be completely exposed. This is the Death Forest, and next to it is Konoha, and there are many Konoha shinobi in the Death Forest. Once there's a big commotion, he will have to face the enemies of the entire ninja village. If it is just this, it will be fine. Orochimaru is confident that he can escape unscathed even if he faces the entire Konoha. But in this case, all his previous plans will fail. In addition, Kamisato Yuehua is indeed very strong, which makes Orochimaru very afraid. It is not in his interest to continue fighting Kamisato Yuehua. Anyway, the most important purpose of his coming to Konoha is to plant the curse seal for Uchiha Sasuke. This matter is too simple, and there is no need to make it so complicated because of such a simple matter. When Kamisato Yuehua heard Orochimaru's words, he also understood that Orochimaru was going to slip away. But this is normal. No matter how he thinks, Orochimaru has no reason to continue fighting him. However, Orochimaru wants to withdraw, but Yuehua disagrees. He had been planning for the Chunin exam for a long time, and Orochimaru was the key figure in his plan. Now that he had the opportunity to fight Orochimaru one-on-one, Kamisato Yuehua didn't want to waste this opportunity. It's really an honor to be remembered by Senior Orochimaru. Kamisato Yuehua spoke, and then started directly, without any nonsense, and quickly approached Orochimaru. Facing Kamisato Yuehua's unreasonableness, Orochimaru showed a gloomy smile and quickly formed a seal. Suddenly, a huge python appeared between Kamisato Yuehua and Orochimaru, blocking the sight of both parties. 0134072230 Phila 144300560. Obviously, Orochimaru wanted to use the big snake to block and leave quickly. Kamisato Yuehua saw through Orochimaru's thoughts, and a smile appeared on his lips. Just right, try the ninjutsu he developed. Kamisato Yuehua thought to himself and formed a seal quickly. With just 3 seals, Kamisato Yuehua's ninjutsu was performed. Kamisato Yuehua's right hand was now wrapped in lightning, and the wrapped lightning quickly extended and formed the shape of a gun. Then, Kamisato Yuehua jumped with all his strength, dodging the giant snake's attack while reaching high in the sky. He saw Orochimaru running fast in the forest below at a glance. Lightning style, thunder killing gun. The lightning spear in his hand flew out, turning into a beam of light and shooting towards Orochimaru. This was a ninjutsu created by Kamisato Tsukika after she saw Hatake Kakashi's Chidori during the Wave Country mission. However, compared to the Chidori, which must be used in conjunction with the Sharingan, the thunder-killing spear does not have that requirement. This lightning spear was very fast, flashing with silver-white light, and projected from the sky, like a meteor that streaked across the sky. Feeling the strong chakra fluctuations coming from behind, Orochimaru did not hesitate and jumped up. Boom! A terrible roar appeared, and a dark, deep pit appeared on the ground. It was caused by the thunder-killing spear. It is not difficult to imagine that if hit by this thunder-killing spear, Golden suffers Dekomo's injuries. However, it was not over yet. Kamisato Tsukika, who fell from the sky, looked at Orochimaru in the sky, stretched out one hand, and pointed at Orochimaru's location, and suddenly a thin and long lightning beam appeared from Kamisato Tsukika's hand and attacked Orochimaru. This technique is still the thunder-killing spear, but Kamisato Tsukika's thunder-killing spear is not only nature transformation, but also includes form change, so Kamisato Tsukika's thunder-killing spear can be said to be a combination of Chidori plus Chidori style plus Chidori sharp spear. There is even an additional ability, that is, it can be used to attack without hands like Sage Art Wind style Raisin Shuriken. And even without the chakra to stabilize the form of the ninjutsu, Kamisato Tsukika can also prevent the thunder-killing spear from dissipating quickly. The slender lightning beam shot towards Orochimaru, who had nowhere to borrow power in the sky. At this moment, it was difficult for Orochimaru to dodge. Even if he had tried his best to twist his body, he was still controlled by the lightning bar to his thigh. Bang! After falling heavily to the ground, Orochimaru stood up. His face had become very gloomy. If the giant snake had not attacked Kamisato Tsukika again, he would probably be approached again. Is it a self-created ninjutsu? I didn't expect you to be so talented in ninjutsu, Orochimaru said. In the previous battle, Kamisato Uehua had been using physical skills to fight him, which made Orochimaru think that Kamisato Uehua was a ninja with 10 physical skills. However, he didn't expect that the other party would have such a strong talent in ninjutsu. Not bad, Kamisato Uehua said, and used another ninjutsu. This time he didn't make a seal, but used a non-seal ninjutsu. In Kamisato Uehua's hand, a chakra ball began to condense, and it was accompanied by lightning and made a sharp sound. This is Rasengan. Orochimaru was shocked and had already seen the ninjutsu used by Kamisato Uehua. No, it's not a simple Rasengan. You added Thunder Attribute Chakra to the Rasengan. Orochimaru looked at the Thunder Attribute Rasengan with silver light and couldn't help but be shocked, and his face became more solemn. He was no stranger to the Jutsu Rasengan. After all, his teammate, Jiraiya, who was also one of the Sannin, was good at the Jutsu Rasengan. And the famous yellow, Flash Namikaze Minato, who defeated him in the competition for the 4th Hokage, was also very good at Rasengan. But with the death of Namikaze Minato, Jiraiya traveled around the ninja world and disappeared, and Orochimaru hadn't seen this jutsu for a long time. I didn't expect to see Rasengan again here today, but this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that the Rasengan used by Kamisato Tsukika actually incorporates Thunder Attribute Chakra. You know, Namikaze Minato and Jiraiya had this idea a long time ago, and they also tried to integrate other nature chakra into Rasengan, but they undoubtedly failed. And now, Kamisato Tsukika succeeded. At the age of less than 13, she did what Namikaze Minato and Jiraiya had not done. Underestimated you. I thought you were just a simple taijutsu ninja with extraordinary talent in taijutsu. I didn't expect that you also have such a strong talent in ninjutsu, surpassing Jiraiya. Orochimaru spoke solemnly. He no longer wanted to defeat Kamisato Tsukika at this time, because this might be an opponent of the same level as him. This also made Orochimaru feel the crisis. He knew that he had to leave in time. Otherwise, with Kamisato Tsukika and other elites of Konoha, he might really be left here. It seems that Senior Orochimaru is very familiar with Rasengan. However, this is the first time that Orochimaru has seen Rasengan with Thunder Attribute. It just so happens that this is also the first time for me to use it. So, please let Senior Orochimaru taste my Rasengan. Kamisato Tsukika spoke. He mastered the Rasengan technique when he traveled through time. After all, the practice method of Rasengan is described very comprehensively and carefully in the original painting. With Kamisato Tsukika's understanding, if he can't even learn Rasengan, he can find a place to hit his head and die. Orochimaru became solemn when he heard this. The power of Rasengan is not small. If an ordinary person withstands a blow, he will almost lose his combat effectiveness. Even though his physique is different from that of ordinary people, he has a perverted recovery ability, which is enough to take the Rasengan. But Kamisato Tsukika's Rasengan is different from others' Rasengan. This is a Rasengan that integrates Thunder Attribute Chakra. God knows how lethal this Rasengan is. Go! Kamisato Tsukika didn't say any more nonsense. He held the Rasengan in his hand and went straight to the front. This made Orochimaru solemn. Since this Rasengan was used by Kamisato Tsukika at this time, it is obvious that it must be a powerful ninjutsu with strong lethality. If it is really hit, it will be troublesome. Thinking of this, Orochimaru's heart was highly tense. When he saw Kamisato Tsukika at a certain distance from him, he stretched out his hands. Suddenly, countless pythons appeared, and there were so many that they blocked Kamisato Tsukika's sight. This distance was different from the previous one. The distance between Kamisato Tsukika and these pythons was too close, and he had no time to dodge. It can be said that Orochimaru is worthy of being a veteran Kaga-level strongman, and he can grasp the timing of the use of ninjutsu quite well. However, Kamisato Uehua just smiled at this. Can't avoid it? Not possible. As long as he wants, he can instantly use Flying Thunder God technique to avoid the attack. But Kamisato Uehua didn't do that. He was afraid that if he used Flying Thunder God technique, Orochimaru would be scared and dare not come to Konoha. And the main purpose of his being here today is not to test these ninjutsu, but the 10th technique. So, Kamisato Uehua just raised the Thunder Attribute Rasengan in his hand, aimed at the python in front of him, and input a large amount of chakra into it. But sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. I saw that the Thunder Attribute Rasengan in Kamisato Uehua's hand suddenly radiated light, and like a cannon, it electrocuted all the pythons in front of it and fell down limply. And Kamisato Uehua also fell to the ground. What a pity. It seems that your Lightning Attribute Rasengan still has a lot of room for improvement. Orochimaru smiled and said. Shinming Uehua also smiled. I can only say that you are worthy of being Orochimaru Sr. You have a superb grasp of the timing of using ninjutsu. Kamisato Uehua said, looking at Orochimaru's pair of vertical pupils, and activated the ninjutsu she specially prepared for Orochimaru. Apothéosis technique sous collision get. Chapter 64. Saving Xiangling, there was no seal at all, nor was there any need for one. After their eyes met, Kamisato Uehua activated the technique she had prepared for Orochimaru. Apothéosis technique sous collision. In just a moment, Orochimaru uttered a muffled groan, and his body staggered. And Kamisato Uehua couldn't help but frown and instinctively felt nauseous. Soul Collision, a technique created by Kamisato Uehua after studying the Spiritualization Technique, is a technique that targets the soul. The principle of this technique is also very simple, directly using one's own soul to collide with the enemy's soul. So this technique is two-way. While Orochimaru's soul was collided, Kamisato Uehua's soul was also uncomfortable. However, Kamisato Uehua is the caster after all, and the damage to his soul is much better than that of the person being collided. In addition, Kamisato Uehua's soul is stronger than that of an ordinary person, while Orochimaru's soul living corpse reincarnation has become weaker than that of an ordinary person. So the gathering is obvious. Orochimaru endured the pain of his soul and looked at Kamisato Uehua with a look of disbelief and disbelief. The boy in front of him was attacked by his soul just now. This boy actually has a technique for other people's souls. At this moment, Orochimaru was filled with fear and excitement. He was afraid that Kamisato Uehua showed the power to kill him, and he was excited because he finally saw another technique involving the soul. If he could get this technique, would it be able to solve his soul problem? Orochimaru couldn't help thinking at this moment. This is the technique that I want to ask Senior Orochimaru to appreciate, called Soul Clash. I wonder how Senior Orochimaru feels. Kamisato Uehua smiled and said he was very satisfied his heart now. 333. His technique was very successful and could indeed hurt other people's souls. This proved that there was no problem with his research direction. And since there was no problem with the research direction, the next research would probably yield results soon. As long as he combines the divine technique with the sealing technique, he can create a seal that directly targets other people's souls. At that time, Orochimaru will let him control him. The thought flashed through Kamisato Yuehwa's mind. Haha, you're really amazing. You can even involve the soul. Yuehwa can, even if I have overestimated you as much as possible, you have once again exceeded my expectations. Orochimaru also smiled and spoke, but he had already retreated at this time and was looking for an opportunity to leave quickly. The soul collision that Kamisato Yuehwa had just used on him still made him feel a splitting headache. This state made it impossible for him to exert all his combat power, and his strength was greatly reduced. If he didn't leave, he might really have to stay here today. Really? That's a great honor. Then, please stay, Senior Orochimaru. I still have a lot of ninjutsu waiting for you. Lord Orochimaru. Kamisato Yuehwa said, and went to Orochimaru again. But this time his speed was much slower. It seems that the soul collision just now also had a great impact on him. Orochimaru, who was already kneeling on one knee, saw this and fell directly on the ground, opening his mouth wide. The next moment, countless snakes emerged from Orochimaru's mouth and quickly covered the land in front of him, leaving Kamisato Yuehwa with nowhere to land. The body quickly retreated, and Kamisato Yuehwa knew that Orochimaru was going to run away next. This technique was more of a cover than an attack. Sure enough, after forcing Kamisato Yuehwa back hundreds of meters, Orochimaru no longer paid attention to the snake tied on the ground and left quickly in the opposite direction. In fact, Kamisato Yuehwa could have stopped it if he wanted to, but he had other plans. His soul seal for Orochimaru has not been completely perfected yet, so it is useless to leave Orochimaru here. After killing all the snakes on the ground, Kamisato Yuehwa looked at the mess on the ground and turned away. The Chunin exam will continue. Although this is not a very important thing for Kamisato Yuehwa. Not long after Kamisato Yuehwa left, a female ninja appeared there. Looking at the snake corpses all over the ground, Mitarashi Anko gritted her teeth. Is it you? Orochimaru. If she was just vaguely uneasy before, thinking that the strange woman was her former teacher Orochimaru, then now, Mitarashi Anko is 80% sure that it is Orochimaru. Damn, why did that BD return to Konoha? With one hand stuck in the big tree next to her, Mitarashi Anko spoke with resentment on her face. But then she took a deep breath, suppressed her emotions, and left quickly. If Orochimaru appears in the Chunin exam, then the situation here is not something she can handle, and she must quickly tell the third-generation master. Not long after, Mitarashi Anko came to the Hokage's office and told Sarutobi Hiruzen that Orochimaru might appear in the Chunin exam. Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart sank when he heard this. Orochimaru has always been a pain in his heart. I know, Sarutobi Hiruzen said, and then he gave an order. While strengthening the guard, he sent ninjas to actively look for Orochimaru's traces. No matter what his purpose is, we must stop him. Sarutobi Hiruzen said this, and his heart was already uneasy because his disciple is not a kind person. On the other side, the Death Forest. After the fight with Orochimaru, Kamisato Yuehwa began to move towards the central tower. He had enough scrolls in his hand. When passing by a certain place, Shunli Yuehwa heard the girls cry for help. Moving his body quickly, Shunli Yuehwa soon came to the source of the sound. Standing on a big tree, he saw a bear with eyes wide open chasing a red-haired girl about his age not far away. The girl did not notice Shunli Yuehwa and was running with a look of fear on her face. This scene made Shunli Yuehwa feel familiar. Immediately, Shunli Yuehwa's eyes lit up. Red hair, being chased by a bear, this is Xiangling? Thinking of this, Shunli Yuehwa jumped quickly and soon came to the position above the giant bear, and then jumped down. Bang! The small fist hit the head of the bear, which was much bigger than Shunli Yuehwa. The huge head of the giant bear smashed down hard, splashing sand and stones on the ground. With just one punch, the thick-skinned bear was knocked unconscious. After getting rid of the giant bear, Shunli Yuehua jumped down from the bear's head, looked at Xiangling, who was sitting on the ground and staring at her blankly, and said, "Are you okay?" The pleasant voice brought Xiangling back to her senses, and her face turned red. So handsome, Xiangling couldn't help but shout in her heart. She had never seen such a handsome man since she was a child. I'm fine. She spoke stutteringly, and in front of Shunli Yuehua's face, Xiangling could no longer speak normally. Look at your forehead protector. You're a ninja from Kuzagakure village. Did you get separated from your teammates? Kamiri Tsukika said as she stretched out a hand to Xiangling, indicating that she wanted to pull Xiangling up. Seeing this, Xiangling stretched out her hand tremblingly. When she held Kamisato Tsukika's hand, she couldn't help but sigh that it was so tender, so smooth, and so warm. Well, I got separated from my teammates. Sorry, the scroll is with my teammates. Xiangling said with guilt. It doesn't matter. The scroll has been collected. Then, let's say goodbye here first. You should be careful by yourself. I will hide in a place where no one is. Kamiri Tsukika said, not intending to abduct Xiangling now. His identity was not suitable. For this kind of thing, he could go back and tell Sarutobi Hiruzen first, and then let Sarutobi Hiruzen decide. Anyway, Xiangling would have to spend at least 5 days here, and after the second exam, she would not be able to return to Kuzagakure village immediately. Okay. Thank you. Xiangling hurriedly thanked Kamisato Tsukika. She kept watching Kamisato Tsukika disappear in the forest, and then Tuan Sen slapped his forehead. Oh, I forgot to ask his name just now, Xiangling said in annoyance. She felt that she was in love. Kamiri Tsukika didn't know that the unexpected encounter made Xiangling transfer all her feelings for Sasuke to him. After saving Xiangling casually, Kamisato Tsukika continued to head towards the central tower. And when passing by a certain place, Kamisato Tsukika stopped again, because his acquaintances were here, but they all looked a little miserable. Uchiha Sasuke and Naruto were lying on one side, already in a coma. Haruno Sakura fell to the ground, seemingly losing his fighting power. Lock Lee was also lying on the ground, looking miserable, as if he had been abused. Shikamaru was holding Ino, who was bleeding from his mouth, and Chai was also dizzy. Only Hyuga and Tintin on the other side of the tree seemed to have no problems, because the two of them had not yet joined the battle. In addition to these acquaintances of Kamisato Yuehua, there were 3 people on the side, and it was obvious that all this was caused by them. The 3 sound ninjas. I didn't expect to meet them again. Kamisato Yuehua muttered to herself, and she had already jumped down from the tree. Zero Yuehua. Yuehua. 2 surprised voices sounded, from Haruno Sakura and Ino. Ino's surprise was naturally because she saw Kamisato Yuehua, and Haruno Sakura's surprise was because she knew Kamisato Yuehua's strength. This time, they were completely saved. Moreover, Yuehua-kun actually escaped from the hands of that pervert guy. This surprised Haruno Sakura and relieved him greatly. It's that kid. Seeing Kamisato Tsukika, the 3 Odanin recognized him immediately. After all, Tsukika had left a deep impression on them before. I didn't expect to meet this brat here. It's just right, we can deal with him together. Tuss, who was wrapped in bandages, spoke in a low voice. He had wanted to teach Kamisato Tsukika a lesson for a long time, but he had never had the chance. And now, the opportunity has come. Leave it to me. I also want to teach this arrogant brat a lesson. Sak spoke up. He also wanted to give Kamisato Tsukika, these 3 guys, the bandage man's attack method is. Shikamaru didn't have time to ask Kamisato Tsukika why she was here. He spoke loudly and quickly, telling Kamisato Tsukika the information he had just collected. This made the 3 sound ninjas look at Shikamaru in surprise. They didn't expect that in such a short time, Shikamaru actually collected all their information. What a smart kid. Let's get rid of them together later. Toss spoke gloomily, not taking the people present seriously at all. On the other side of the tree, Tian watched Hyuga lift his white eyes and couldn't help but say, Niji, shouldn't we take action? Well, since both Lee and Guy said Kamisato Yuehua is a true genius, Let's see if he meets the standard of a genius. Hyuga said he was only interested in Kamisato Uehua because he had heard of Kamisato Uehua too many times from Rock Lee and Might. Tian nodded and looked down with interest. She was also very interested in Kamisato Uehua. And below, Kamisato Uehua was also laughing and crying when she saw herself being looked down upon by the three ninjas. If they knew that they had just beaten Orochimaru away, I wonder what these three would think. But they definitely don't believe it. After all, in their hearts, Orochimaru is an invincible existence in their formation. They have a blind worship of Orochimaru. In short, their Orochimaru brainwashed him. Kamisato Tsukika had nothing to say to such a person. He took out a kunai, activated it directly, and rushed towards Sak, who was closest to him. As soon as Kamisato Tsukika activated it, the three sound ninjas were shocked. What a fast speed. They thought to themselves that they had never thought that Kamisato Tsukika could have such a speed of 1.8. However, Kamisato Tsukika's speed still exceeded their imagination. When he came to Sak's side, Sak reacted. He hurriedly raised his hand and was about to use the palm of the hand to cut the airwave. However, it was too late. Shunli Uehua had already passed by him quickly, leaving only a puff. Because his throat was cut, Sak could no longer speak. After he made two muffled sounds, he fell to the ground. Blood gushed out from his neck and soon dyed the ground red. This sudden change made TOS and Jean Mao horrified. They didn't expect that Sak would be killed instantly by Shunli Uehua. At this moment, the two subconsciously ran away quickly. However, how could a Chunin-level ninja be attacked by Kamisato Tsukika? Even if Kamisato Tsukika did not open the 8 inner gates after the 3rd gate, his strength was still at the level of elite Chunin. Killing these 2 Chunin-level players was a piece of cake. So in just less than 10 seconds, the 3 Odinins who were so arrogant just now turned into 3 corpses. This scene made everyone present, except Haruno Sakura, stunned. Shikamaru and Tenten spoke at the same time, while Namino, Chai, and Hyuga opened their eyes wide, full of disbelief. Just now, it was solved. Kamisato Tsukika solved the 3 ninjas that they had difficulty dealing with just now in less than 10 seconds. At this moment, several people were filled with shock and wondered if they were hallucinating. Chapter 65, killing 3 sound ninjas instantly, shocking the Konoha warriors at this moment, except for Haruno Sakura, who had known Kamisato Tsukika's strength for a long time. Everyone else was stunned. Ino Shikase, Hyuga and Tenten. The 5 of them could never have imagined that Kamisato Tsukika would be so strong. Even Shikamaru, who had already guessed Kamisato Tsukika's identity as an Umbu member, was shocked and confused. Great! Tsukika-kun is so powerful. Ino was the first to react. She excitedly got up from the ground, ran over quickly, and jumped on Kamisato Tsukika's back. This guy is really unexpected. Seeing that the matter had been resolved, Shikamaru breathed a sigh of relief and relaxed. Hyuga and Tenten also jumped down from the tree. The 2 looked at Kamisato Tsukika for a few times and came to Rock Lee to check on Rock Lee's condition. "Let me do it." Kamisato Tsukika spoke. Let Ino get off her back and walk to Rock Lee's side. After checking Rock Lee's condition, Kamisato Tsukika put her hands on Rock Lee's wound. Green chakra appeared, which was a chakra exclusive to medical ninjutsu. Seeing this, several people were shocked again. Even Haruno Sakura showed a surprised expression. She didn't know that Kamisato Tsukika could actually do medical ninjutsu. Soon, Rock Lee woke up slowly. "Tsukika? Niji Tian? Why are you all here? By the way, where are the 3 enemies?" After waking up, Rock Lee was confused at first, and then he became nervous. "Don't be nervous. They were all solved by Kamisato Tsukika alone." Hyuga spoke, letting Rock Lee relax again. "Is Tsukika so powerful? She solved those 3 ninjas by herself. She is really a true genius." Hearing that Kamisato Tsukika solved the 3 Otoninus alone, Pei Keiji couldn't help but exclaimed, "I'll go see how Naruto Sasuke is doing." Seeing that Rock Lee was fine, Kamisato Tsukika got up and came to Naruto and Sasuke and began to treat them. Soon the two woke up. Yuka? How come you are here? Naruto's eyes widened. Wasn't Kamisato Yuka fighting with that pervert woman? How come she is here? Did you get rid of that woman? 30 Uchiha Sasuke also widened his eyes and asked. Although it was a good thing that Kamisato Yuka was safe and sound, he still didn't want to believe that Kamisato Yuka could get rid of that terrible woman. No, after I fought with her for a while, she must have been afraid of being surrounded by the village's ninjas, so she got away. Kamiri Yuka spoke, but didn't tell Uchiha Sasuke the truth. He was afraid of shocking the kid. Sure enough, after hearing Kamisato Yuka say this, Uchiha Sasuke secretly breathed a sigh of relief. That guy must have some conspiracy. You must tell these things to the Hokage. Uchiha Sasuke spoke again. At this time, he still considered himself a Konoha shinobi. Even though he had been hit many times by Kamisato Tsukika, he had not yet twisted himself. Well, let's go to the central tower. By the way, did you get your scrolls? Although this Chunin exam seems to be full of twists and turns, it is better to get promoted directly if you could be promoted to Chunin this time. Kamisato Tsukika spoke to several people. He only knew that Ino and the others had already got the scrolls, and he didn't know the situation of Hyuga and the others. We have already got it. Ino spoke with a proud face. She was very happy to be able to show off in front of Kamisato Tsukika. We have also got it. Hyuga also spoke. They met Team 7 on the way to the central tower. If it weren't for this incident, they would have arrived at the central tower now. We haven't got it yet. Haruno Sakura spoke awkwardly. Everyone else here got the scroll, but Team 7 didn't get it, so they were naturally very unconfident. Okay, then you guys go find the scrolls by yourselves. We'll go ahead. Kamiri Tsukika nodded, not wanting to help Team 7. After all, both Uchiha Sasuke and Naruto were actually quite arrogant. Even if Kamisato Tsukika offered to help them collect scrolls, they would refuse. And even if Uchiha Sasuke had not been marked by Orochimaru, it would not be difficult for him to get a scroll in this exam with his strength. His strength is definitely the best among the genin candidates in this batch of exams. There should be no one who can beat him except Gaara, Rock Lee, and Kamisato Tsukika. Even Hyuga facing Uchiha Sasuke with 2 Tomo Sharingan plus Chidori, may not be able to win. Well, meet up at the tower. Uchiha Sasuke spoke coldly, but somehow his tone was less confident than before. I think he was hit hard by the battle between Kamisato Uehua and Orochimaru, and he couldn't recover in a short time. Then I'll go ahead. I have to report this matter to the third-generation witnesses. Kamisato Uehua spoke, and after the few people nodded, they left quickly. Seeing this, the few people also separated. Not long after, Kamisato Uehua came to the central tower. Along the way, he encountered an ambush by 2 teams, one not far from here, and the other at the location of the tower. Obviously, the team at the tower is very smart. If they hunt here, the opponent must be the team that has collected the scrolls. As long as they defeat the opponent, no matter whether they have the Book of Heaven or the Book of Earth, they can find the corresponding scroll. Although it is a pity that they chose the wrong opponent, they chose the strongest person in the entire Death Forest, or even the strongest person in the entire Konoha. The result is self-evident, because these 3 people are not Konoha ninjas, and they will kill them as soon as they strike. So Kamisato Uehua cuts them down with a knife, leaving them in this place forever. After entering the tower, there is no one in the tower at this time. Only one team has arrived. This team is naturally Gaara's team. Gaara and the other 2 were also surprised to see Kamisato Uehua entering the tower. They never thought that the second team to arrive would be Kamisato Uehua's single team. It seems that guy has something. Looking at Kamisato Uehua, who has gone to find nearby Chunin and is talking to the other party, Kankuro whispered. Although this exam is very simple for them, Kamisato Uehua is just one person after all. The fact that she can reach the tower so quickly is enough to prove Kamisato Uehua's strength. Gaara didn't say anything after hearing this, but just looked at Kamisato Uehua, not knowing what he was thinking. On the other side, Kamisato Uehua told the Chunin on duty about some situations and left first with the other party's permission. Not long after, he came to the Hokage office. Oh, Yuewa, aren't you taking the Chunin exam? Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little surprised by Kamisato Yuehua's arrival. Third-generation master. I met Orochimaru in the Forest of Death. Kamisato Yuehua went straight to the point and got straight to the point. What? Sarutobi Hiruzen was shocked when he heard this, and he stood up from his chair. When Mitarashi Anko reported to him before, he had actually confirmed that the person was Orochimaru, and he was already prepared in his heart. But Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't expect that Kamisato Yuehua would actually encounter Orochimaru. Are you okay? He asked with concern, and Sarutobi Hiruzen was extremely concerned about Kamisato Tsukika's safety. After all, Kamisato Tsukika was already the next fourth generation or second generation in Sarutobi Hiruzen's mind. I'm fine. I was in the Death Forest at that time. Kamisato Tsukika began to tell Sarutobi Hiruzen about what happened after he encountered Orochimaru. Of course, Kamisato Tsukika naturally couldn't tell all the information. For example, he was able to open the 7th gate of the 8 inner gates, but Kamisato Tsukika said that he barely opened the 6th gate to fight. For example, Kamisato Tsukika didn't mention the lightning-style Rasengan and the Deification Technique Soul Clash. She also described the fact that she beat Orochimaru away as Orochimaru was afraid of making too much noise and was afraid in his heart. So he left on his own after a long attack. Similarly, Kamisato Yuehua also told Sarutobi Hiruzen that the purpose of Orochimaru's visit to Konoha this time, if nothing unexpected happened, should be Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned and thought, and couldn't figure out what Orochimaru was going to do to Uchiha Sasuke. After thinking for a while and still having no answer, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Kamisato Yuehua again, showing a very satisfied expression. It seems that your strength has grown to a very powerful level. When you're fully proficient in Flying Thunder God, you should have the strength to protect Konoha. Very good, Yuehua. You have lived up to my expectations of you. In this way, it won't be long before I, an old man, can retire. After all, Konoha in the future will rely on young people like you. Sarutobi Hiruzen once again indicated that Kamisato Yuehua should be the Hokage, which made Kamisato Yuehua have to pretend to be grateful again. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen was really nice to him, the position of Hokage was the most precious thing Sarutobi Hiruzen could give. However, Kamisato Yuehua had no intention of becoming Hokage. Looking at the past generations of Hokage, which one did not waste a lot of time on this position, being entangled in official duties and unable to break free. Being Hokage was simply the most unprofitable thing for Kamisato Yuehua. With that time to deal with work, he could make himself much stronger. Okay, you go back to the tower first. The Chunin exam will continue. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke, and Kamisato Yuehua spoke again. By the way, third-generation master, I found a ninja suspected to be an orphan of the Uzumaki clan in this Chunin exam. She is a girl with red hair and amazing chakra. However, she is now a ninja of the Kusagakure village. Uzumaki clan. Sarutobi Hiruzen was surprised. This clan had almost disappeared from the ninja world since the country was destroyed. He hadn't heard the word Uzumaki clan for a long time. Unexpectedly, Kamisato Yuehua actually seemed to have met one. So what do you mean? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked. Since Kamisato Yuehua said this alone, it proved that Kamisato Yuehua had her own ideas about the Uzumaki girl. I think we could try to contact her. After all, the Uzumaki clan and Konoha had some deep roots in the past. We still have the Uzumaki clan emblem engraved on our backs. If possible, it would be better for her to stay in Konoha. Kamisato Yuehua spoke. If Karen was just an ordinary Uzumaki clan ninja, it would be fine, but Karen was the one who finally awakened the Uzumaki clan adamant and sealing chains. You can imagine her talent, and her ability to heal others and herself with a bite is also unique. Is that so? I'll consider it. You can go back and continue to take the Chunin exam. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for a while and spoke to Kamisato Tsukika, and Kamisato Tsukika quietly left the Hokage office. When Kamisato Tsukika returned to the tower again, another team arrived. It was the three people from Team 8. They got the scroll first, but after seeing Team Gaara kill Team Rain Shinobi Village, they chose to stagger with Team Gaara and arrived at the tower later. Hey, Tsukika, you were slower than us this time. Seeing Kamisato Tsukika, Inuzuka Kiba got excited. As someone who knew some of Kamisato Tsukika's strength, Team 8 never doubted that Kamisato Tsukika could pass the exam. But Inuzuka Kiba was very happy to complete the task of collecting scrolls earlier than Kamisato Tsukika. Haha, you were really fast. Kamisato Tsukika did not reveal the truth, but just smiled and greeted the three people. Anyway, this kind of false reputation of being the first to achieve, it has no meaning at all to Kamisato Tsukika. He doesn't rely on such a small title to become famous. At the very least, it should be a reputation like in the Chunin exam incident. Konoha reproduced the Flying Thunder God technique, and the 13-year-old boy was so terrifying, the power of 10 made the Sand Shinobi Canon Ninkan conspiracy fail. This is the correct way for him to become famous in the ninja world. I don't know how Shikamaru Naruto and the others are doing. Those guys won't be eliminated, right? Inuzuka Kiba spoke again. Although his tone was teasing, Kamisato Yuehua still felt the concern in his words. It must be said that the relationship between Konoha's little strong men is still very stable. Don't worry, I think they will appear in the tower soon. After all, those guys are still very strong. Kamisato Yuehua also smiled and spoke. He naturally knew the result of this Chunin exam. In the original work, there were 7 teams that broke through the second round, and Konoha accounted for 5 teams, namely the Konoha 12 and Yakushi Kabuto's team. The other 2 were Gaara's team and the Sound Ninja Trio, but now the Sound Ninja Trio has been solved by Kamisato Yuehua. As for whether there will be a new team to replace the Sound Ninja Trio to successfully break through, that is unknown. Not long after, Hyuganiji and his 3 friends also entered the tower, as well as Ino Shikasichi. After a long time, Yakushi Kabuto's team finally arrived. At this point, the only team that reached the original work was the Sound Ninja Trio who had died and could not reach it, and Team 7 where Naruto Sasuke and Sakura were. Chapter 66, The Real Purpose of the CH Nin Exam. After Yakushi Kabuto's team arrived, Team 7 was still late. According to the original story, they should have reached the tower with the help of Yakushi Kabuto at the last moment of time after collecting the scrolls. But now it seems that the story is completely different. However, Kamisato Tsukika was not too worried. After all, Naruto Sasuke was the child of destiny, and it was not so easy for him to die. Sure enough, when there were only more than 10 minutes left before the end of the exam on the 5th day, Team 7 arrived late. Looking at the embarrassed 3 people, everyone said that they must have experienced a difficult battle. However, there was no accident at last. Before Team 7 arrived, many ninjas had gathered in the tower. Sarutobi Isama, Might Guy, Yuhi Kurenai, Baki, and 2 other unknown ninjas, the team leaders who passed the second exam, are all here. Meanwhile, 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen has also arrived at the tower. He is standing under the huge sculpture of 2 hands in a seal, waiting for the next test. Besides Sarutobi Hiruzen are Marino Ibiki and 2 subordinates, Mitarashi Anko and 2 subordinates. With the arrival of Team 7, Hatake Kakashi also jumped down for the previous high platform, came to the position behind Sarutobi Hiruzen, and stood with other team leaders. After talking to Naruto and the others, Mitarashi Anko spoke. First of all, congratulations to everyone for passing the second test. Looking at the 19 people who have already lined up, Mitarashi Anko was surprised. Although she threatened to eliminate half of the people before the test, in Mitarashi Anko's mind, the number of people who came here should be only a few. Unexpectedly, there were 19 people. At the same time, everyone present was also mentally active. Those will not be described in detail. Kamisato Tsukika stood alone in the line at the edge, and his eyes naturally scanned the ninjas in front of him. The first person he saw was the leader of the Yakushi Kabuto team. He was originally a minor role, an insignificant existence, and he didn't even deserve a name from the beginning to the end. However, Kamisato Tsukika knew that the current minor role still had the same skin, but the flesh had changed into a terrifying existence. Orochimaru, he is really confident. Kamisato Tsukika sighed in his heart. That person now is Orochimaru. Even if the team of the Sound Village was eliminated, he still easily got here. After sweeping past Orochimaru and Baki, Kamisato Tsukika stayed on Yuhi Kurenai's body for a while. And Yuhi Kurenai also noticed Kamisato Tsukika's gaze, and her heart was immediately panicked. She still couldn't face Kamisato Tsukika calmly. After moving her eyes again and sweeping through everyone, Mitarashi Anko continued to speak. Next, the third Hokage will tell you about the content and rules of the next exam. Please listen carefully. Then, it's up to you. After Mitarashi Anko finished speaking, everyone looked at the third Hokage. Directly, the third Hokage took 2 steps forward, coughed twice, looked at everyone and spoke loudly, his voice hoarse in vicissitudes. Before starting the next third exam, I must explain one thing to you. The real purpose of this exam. Why do we have to take the exam together with the allies? It is for the friendly coexistence between the allies and to improve the level of ninjas. This is the real meaning. If you misunderstand, it will be very troublesome. This exam can be said to be. Sarutobi Hiruzen paused at this point. This made people nervous and held their breath, waiting for Sarutobi Hiruzen to continue speaking. A microcosm of the war between the allies. As soon as this was said, the genin was shocked, and Sarutobi Hiruzen continued. Historically, the current allies are all neighboring countries that have been at war. In order to avoid mutual loss, the countries specially selected this exam venue, which is the origin of the Chigoku selection exam in Sichuan. Sarutobi Hiruzen had just finished speaking when Naruto couldn't help but speak loudly. Why is this so? Isn't this just for the purpose of selecting Chunin? It is true that this exam also has the mission of selecting ninjas who are capable of becoming Chunin. But on the other hand, it is also a place where ninjas who bear the prestige of various countries fight for their lives. In this third exam, there will be many lords and celebrities from various countries who will entrust us with tasks. Then the lords and ninja leaders will watch your fight. If the strength difference is large, the strong country will receive many commissions. On the contrary, the weak country will receive fewer commissions. At the same time, this is also to declare to neighboring countries that this is the combat power they have. In other words, the strength of the strength will also bring pressure to diplomacy. As soon as these words came out, Inuzuka Kiba said loudly with an indignant look on his face, "Then why do we have to fight to the death?" Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at him and continued. The strength of a country is the strength of a ninja village, which is the strength of a ninja. Moreover, the true strength of a ninja can only be revealed when fighting to the death. This exam is a stage for others to see or show the strength of the ninja of their country. It is because they risk their lives that this exam is meaningful. It is precisely because of this that our ancestors once took part in the Chunin selection exam with dreams in their hearts. Then why do we need to promote friendship? Tian was puzzled. Since they had to fight to the death, it was a matter of life and death, and it also involved the strength and interests of major countries. Then using the word friendship would be too ironic. I told you from the beginning that you should not forget that maintaining balance through killing is the so-called friendship. This is a fight for dreams and prestige. After Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, everyone was silent, especially the newcomers in Konoha. They never thought that there would be so many twists and turns in a Chunin exam, and so much information was hidden. But some people don't care. I don't care about these. Naruto spoke confidently. For him, the Chunin exam is the Chunin exam. And Gaara was the same. He just spoke in a low voice. Compared to that, I am more looking forward to the next exam where I will risk my life. Seeing that Naruto and Gaara said so, the third generation leader stopped talking nonsense and announced directly, "Well, what I will say next is to introduce the content of the third exam to everyone." 17, however, before Sarutobi Hiruzen explained the content to everyone, a ninja had already used the body flicker technique to come to the scene and knelt on one knee in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Third generation leader, next I Gekko, as the examiner of the third exam, will explain it to everyone. The ninja named Gekko spoke, and after speaking, he stood up and looked at everyone. This is a ninja who looks quite young, but his dark circles are too heavy, and his face is a little pale, looking like a patient. Kamisato Tsukika looked at Yue Gale, who was the lover of Yuzuki Yugao in the original work. She was good at swordsmanship and possessed a technique that could make her body transparent. However, in the next few days, he will be killed by Tsunagekyu's elite Jininbaki. When Kamisato Tsukika looked at Gekko, Gekko also looked at Kamisato Tsukika. He had heard this name from Yuzuki Yugao more than once. According to Yuzuki Yugao, Kamisato Tsukika was a genius beyond everyone's imagination. This made Gekko also very interested in Kamisato Tsukika, especially after he saw Yuzuki Yugao learn the modified 3-day moon dance from Kamisato Tsukika. He became more interested. But now is not the time to contact Kamisato Tsukika. There are still things to do. Cough, cough, cough. Before he spoke, he coughed 3 times. Gekko's body was really not very good, and he had serious internal injuries. Hello everyone, before the third exam officially begins, I want everyone to complete something. Gekko smiled and said, that is related to whether you can participate in the preliminaries of the third exam. As soon as these words came out, Shikamaru was immediately angry. He had worked so hard to pass 2 exams, but now Gekko told him that he had to take a preliminary exam before he could take the final third exam. Isn't this a joke? What's the matter with the preliminary exam? Shikamaru asked loudly. Teacher, I don't know what the preliminary exam means. Why can't the candidates who stay here take the third exam directly? Haruno Sakura also asked in confusion. Hey, it may be because the first and second exams of this period are too easy, and there are a lot of people left. Therefore, the preliminary exams should be conducted according to the rules of the Chunin exam to reduce the number of people taking the third exam. How can this be? Hearing this, Haruno said to Yuen Wu. Just now, the Hokage-sama also said that there will be many guests coming to visit the third exam. Therefore, the competition cannot be dragged out, and there will be time restrictions. So, those who are not feeling well can give up the exam in advance. After saying that, Gekko started coughing, making people worry that he was the one who was the most unwell. Then, according to the explanation just now, if anyone wants to give up the exam, please raise it now, because the preliminaries are about to start. Starting soon, Haruno Sakura couldn't help but speak loudly. Their team had just arrived, and the other teams had been resting here for at least a few days. If the preliminaries had started right away, it would be disadvantageous for them. The others also looked at Class 7. Sasuke frowned, while Naruto clenched his fists and cheered himself up. That, I forgot to say just now, the next preliminaries are individual battles. You can choose whether to raise your hands to withdraw from the competition based on your own judgment. As soon as these words came out, almost all the Genins present said in their hearts, who will withdraw? After all, everyone worked hard to come here, and now they're only one step away from the third game. If they give up just like that, it would be too willing. However, when everyone was silent and thought that no one would give up voluntarily, someone unexpectedly raised his hand. It was Yakushi Kabuto. Well, I choose to give up, won everyone. After hearing this, Moonlight Gale took out a booklet, flipped through 2 pages and said, well, you are Yakushi Kabuto, a ninja from Konoha, right? Then you can withdraw. Yes. In the stunned eyes of everyone, Yakushi Kabuto calmly turned and left. Because he had no intersection with Team 7, Naruto did not stop Yakushi Kabuto and ask him why he withdrew. After all, the relationship between the two parties was just the exchange of shinobi knowledge cards before the exam, and there was no bond. On the contrary, the ninjas of Konoha, even Sarutobi Hiruzen, were confused. I have seen this person several times. I remember that he also gave up in the middle of the official selection last time. What is he thinking? After Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, Marino Ibiki signaled Mitarashi Anko to check the information of Yakushi Kabuto. Yakushi Kabuto, according to the information, has failed 6 times in a row. When he received 6 times, Mitarashi Anko was surprised, and Sarutobi Hiruzen also noticed something was wrong. What is his experience like? He didn't have any outstanding performance in his school days, and his grades were also ordinary. He barely passed the graduation exam after 3 exams. He had completed 2 A-level missions and 14 D-level missions before. He didn't have any particularly eye-catching combat experience. But, at this point, Mitarashi Anko listened for a while. But Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke, and he had already determined that Yakushi Kabuto was very wrong. Then Mitarashi Anko continued to speak. Before he went to school, do you remember the boy who was brought back from the battle of Kikiyama? I remember. There was indeed an enemy boy who survived on the battlefield at that time and was adopted by the head of our medical unit. Is he the kid? After listening to Mitarashi Anko, the 3rd-generation leader, and Marino Ibaru looked at Yakushi Kabuto, who turned and left. Until Yakushi Kabuto walked out of the tower gate. The 3rd-generation leader looked at Marino Ibiki and signaled Marino Ibiki to investigate this person carefully. Kamiri Tsukika also withdrew her gaze after Yakushi Kabuto left and sighed in her heart. Who would have thought that this unknown and ordinary boy would become the mastermind behind the 4th Ninja World War in the future and transform into a dragon with a human body? It can be said that Yakushi Kabuto is definitely an extraordinary person. His character, understanding, will, everything is top-notch. However, because of the so-called, after 3 years, Kamisato Tsukika did not think that Yakushi Kabuto could pose a threat to her. After Yakushi Kabuto left, Gekko Hate continued to ask if anyone else wanted to quit. But this time, no one would quit the creation. Except Kamisato, Tsukika, Nara Shikamaru, and Hinata, everyone else wanted to show themselves in this exam. After another explanation, Gekko Hate finally finished what he should say. 0134072305 Philo 144310570. Then, let's reveal the 2 players for the first match immediately. As his words fell, everyone looked at the public notice board. The names there kept flashing and finally stopped. Kamisato Tsukika versus Kankuro. Chapter 67. Kankuro is frightened looking at the name on the notice board. Kamisato Uehua was slightly surprised, but she calmed down immediately. Although the plot has changed, it has no effect on Kamisato Uehua. Moreover, in this individual battle, no matter who she is fighting, it is the same for Kamisato Uehua. On the contrary, Kankuro was surprised when he saw that he was the first to appear, and his opponent was Kamisato Uehua, who he did not like very much. The corners of his mouth raised. It's just right. I can teach this kid a lesson. Kankuro couldn't help thinking in his heart. But why do those guys in Konoha look at him so strangely? It feels like they are sympathizing with him. Kankuro, don't be careless. After all, that guy passed the 2nd exam alone. Temari reminded. She always felt that Kamisato Uehua was not simple. Don't worry. Kankuro spoke confidently. Then, please ask the 2 contestants to come forward. Moonlight Gale opened his mouth to signal Kamisato, Tsukika, and Kankuro. After the 2 came forward, he asked everyone else to go to the corridor above to watch the game. I declare that the game has begun. With Moonlight Gale's announcement, the duel between Kamisato Tsukika and Kankuro began. Looking at Kankuro, who was confident on the opposite side, Kamisato Tsukika was thinking about what means she would use to defeat him, or just kill him directly. But after thinking about it, she still felt that it was unnecessary. This was just an insignificant little person. Whether he lived or died would not have any impact on the future. While Kamisato Tsukika was thinking in her heart, Kankuro was also thinking about what tactics to use to eliminate Kamisato Tsukika. As Temari said, even if he looked down on the kid on the opposite side, he was the one who passed the 2nd exam on his own. His strength must be extraordinary. So to be on the safe side, he still had to go all out with the crow. Thinking in his heart, Kankuro was about to attack Kamisato Tsukika. But Kamisato Tsukika suddenly spoke. Look into my eyes. This sudden sentence made Kankuro look into Kamisato Uehua's eyes subconsciously. Then, a terrible murderous aura burst out, accompanied by a hint of soul shock, making Kankuro's eyes widen and his body stiffened. He saw Kamisato Tsukika standing in a sea of blood and corpses. Surrounded by broken corpses, blood dyed the earth red, and the sky seemed to be dyed red. And Kamisato Tsukika was holding a long knife, 777, approaching him step by step. Kankuro wanted to move, but he couldn't control his body at all, as if he was imprisoned, and could only stand still and watch Kamisato Tsukika's arrival. Until Kamisato Tsukika came in front of him, the long knife in his hand chopped down on his head. Bang! In reality, people watching the battle saw Kankuro suddenly knelt down, as if he had lost his strength, sweating profusely and looking pale. He supported himself with his hands, sweat dripping from his head, and in a blink of an eye, a puddle of water appeared on the ground. What's going on? On the stands in the corridor, Naruto stared at Kankuro below with wide eyes, not knowing what happened. He did not notice that Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura's bodies became stiff at this time, and fear flashed in their eyes. Naruto didn't know what was going on. As people who had personally experienced this kind of attack, they knew very well how terrible it was. Unexpectedly, Kamisato Tsukika would attack like that. How many people did he kill? At this moment, Michiya Sasuke and Shuinfa looked at Kamisato Tsukika with a wrong look. This is what they thought wrong. Although Kamisato Tsukika used murderous means to deal with Kankuro, it was not pure murderous intent. Compared with Orochimaru's pure murderous intent, Kamisato Tsukika's murderous intent was mixed with a slight collision of the soul. Otherwise, Kamisato Tsukika's murderous intent would not even be 1/10 of Orochimaru's. It would not be possible to cause such serious trauma to Kankuro. The reason for this is that after the soul is hit, it is equivalent to breaking the soul's defense first, and then the murderous aura can directly target the soul, forming an effect similar to injury. Kankuro, Temari shouted nervously in the corridor stands and was very concerned about Kankuro's condition. She wanted to go down to check on Kankuro's situation, but because the rules cannot affect the player's duel, people watching the game cannot enter, which made Temari very anxious. Is it an illusion? Shikamaru guessed and saw Kankuro kneeling down, which also shocked them. Although they knew that Kamisato Tsukika was very strong when they dealt with the 3 sound ninjas before, the strength he showed last time came from physical skills. No one told them that Kamisato Tsukika's illusions were also so powerful. It's not an illusion. Kankuro's chakra is not messy. On the other side, Hyuga spoke to Tian, who also thought that Kamisato Tsukika had realized an illusion, with a solemn tone. It's not an illusion? How could it be? Tian was a little emotional when she heard that it was not an illusion. In her understanding, only illusion can solve the enemy instantly without direct action. Hyuga did not speak after hearing this. He himself could not figure it out. Unlike the Genins who knew almost nothing about murderous aura, the Genin, an elite Genin present, knew very well that Kamisato Tsukika had just used murderous aura. Is that murderous aura? If I remember correctly, Kamisato Tsukika is only 12 years old, right? Where does he get such a heavy murderous aura? Did he accumulate it in 2 months in Umbu? Sarutobi Asuma frowned and looked at Kamisato Tsukika with suspicion, and his tone was a bit bad. Because in his heart, Kamisato Tsukika has been defined as a bloodthirsty person, and this made Yuhi Kurenai feel uncomfortable. She didn't know why. She felt uncomfortable when she heard others talking about Kamisato Tsukika. Maybe it's some special technique. Don't easily judge what kind of person someone is. Yuhi Kurenai spoke indifferently, which made Sarutobi Asuma stunned for a moment, and then he showed an awkward smile. Looking at Yuhi Kurenai, who was looking down, Sarutobi Asuma sighed inwardly. He has been pursuing Yuhi Kurenai for a long time. Some time ago, the relationship between the two had made some progress, which made him see hope and felt that he should be able to be with Yuhi Kurenai in a short time. But I don't know what happened. Since Yuhi Kurenai came back from a mission in Kawanakuni, her attitude towards him has changed. Even though there was no obvious rejection, Sarutobi Asuma still felt that Yuhi Kurenai deliberately kept a distance from him and felt alienated from him. This puzzled Sarutobi Asuma, but he had no choice. As expected of Uehua, he is indeed a genius. I didn't make a mistake in him. Beside Hitaki Kakashi, Might Guy spoke proudly. He met Kamisato Tsukika a year ago and was moved by her efforts and persistence. So he took the initiative to teach her the 8 inner gates. And in the period after that, Might Guy witnessed how Kamisato Tsukika quickly opened the first 3rd gate and was able to barely open the 4th gate. Since then, in Might Guy's heart, Kamisato Tsukika is a real genius. But now seeing Kamisato Tsukika kill Kankuro in seconds without using physical skills, Might Guy is still very surprised. It seems that Kamisato Tsukika's talent is not only in physical skills. Hitaki Kakashi rarely agreed to Might Guy, which surprised Might Guy. I didn't expect that even Kakashi, who's a genius himself, would admit that Uehua is a genius. Compared to him, I may not be that genius. Before Might Guy recovered from his surprise, Hitaki Kakashi said something that surprised Might Guy. And this made Might Guy have to look seriously at Kamisato Uehua, although Kakashi usually liked him and sang against him. But Might Guy knew that Hitaki Kakashi was definitely not a person who would lie, let alone on the topic of genius. After all, Hitaki Kakashi himself was the most famous genius in Konoha. On the other side, Orochimaru, disguised as a Konoha shinobi, showed a crooked smile. I really didn't misjudge you, Uehua. Just by feeling my murderous aura. Did you learn to use it? You are really a genius. Orochimaru said to himself. In the field, Kamisato Uehua looked at Kankuro, who was kneeling on the ground and motionless, and turned to look at Uegwon Gale. I think this duel should be over. Kamiri Uehua spoke, signaling Uegwon Gale to announce the result. Moonlight Gale heard this, glanced at Kankuro, coughed a few times, and then said to Kankuro, Kankuro, do you choose to admit defeat? Kankuro? Ahem, Kankuro. After calling a few more times, Kankuro seemed to finally regain consciousness. He raised his hand tremblingly and said in a hoarse voice, I admit defeat. As soon as Kankuro finished speaking, Temari jumped down from the corridor stand and came to Shiro to help him up. And when helping Kankuro up, Temari's heart was also shaken violently. Because Kankuro's clothes were wet. It was soaked with cold sweat. So, what did Kankuro experience just now? Temari was shocked and quickly whispered in Shiro's ear to ask if he was okay. Kankuro nodded weakly and let Temari help him back to the corridor of the platform. It's not that he didn't want to walk back by himself, but his body was a little out of control and weak. After returning to the corridor platform, Gaara rarely did not Kankuro was killed in an instant and called Kankuro a waste. He just looked at Kamisato Tsukika. His eyes were full of murderous intent. At this moment, Gaara's heart was already agitated. He couldn't help but want to fight with Kamisato Tsukika and kill Shinigami Tsukika. On the other side, Kamisato Tsukika also returned to the corridor of the platform and came to the position of the 8th team, ready to watch the next game. Soon, the players of the second game appeared. Uchiha Sasuke versus Akido Kai. The story seems to have returned to the plot of the original work. Although the duel between Uchiha Sasuke and Akido Kai is not the first, the two sides of the duel are still these two people. If Kamisato Tsukika remembers correctly, because of him, Rock Lee did not challenge Uchiha Sasuke, which means that Rock Lee did not perform the Earth Dance of Kong Biao Lianhua on Uchiha Sasuke. In this case, Uchiha Sasuke will not be able to play the Lion combo. So, next Uchiha, how should Sasuke deal with the red copper armor? Kamiri Tsukika suddenly became curious. Kamiri Tsukika did not doubt whether Uchiha Sasuke could win this battle. Although the current Uchiha Sasuke could not use the Lion combo, there was no doubt that Uchiha Sasuke at this time was definitely stronger than he was in the original work. After all, the current Uchiha Sasuke's body was not eroded by the cursed seal, and he had been specially trained by Hitaki Kakashi for a month before, and he had mastered his 2 Tomo Sharingan and Chidori. Such Uchiha Sasuke was obviously stronger. Sure enough, the duel between Uchiha Sasuke and Red Copper Armor was decided not long after, and Uchiha Sasuke won. Although red copper armor was not weak, Uchiha Sasuke at this time was much stronger than him. Even though red copper armor had the ability to absorb chakra, after Uchiha Sasuke opened the two-tomo Sharingan, he directly saw through red copper armor's actions and then defeated red copper armor with superb physical skills. In this battle, Uchiha Sasuke didn't even use Chidori before the battle ended. After the battle, Uchiha Sasuke returned to the corridor of the stands and continued to watch the next duel. This was different from the original work because Uchiha Sasuke had not been cursed at this time, so he did not leave the stage early due to physical reasons and encountered Orochimaru again. In the original work, the next duel should have been a duel between Saku and Aburame Shino, but because Saku was killed by Kamisato Tsukika in the Forest of Death, it became a duel between Aburame Shino and Nara Shikamaru. On the field, looking at Aburame Shino on the opposite side, Shikamaru felt a headache. Everyone is a friend, and they know each other well. Although Aburame Shino has always been a person with a very low sense of existence, Shikamaru still has a lot of information about Aburame Shino. If they really have to duel, he is not without the possibility of winning. But this is too troublesome, and there is no point in winning. If possible, Shikamaru wanted to admit defeat directly. But admitting defeat directly was obviously inappropriate. At least if his mother knew about it, he would definitely be scolded. This made Shikamaru sigh, and Aburame Shino did not speak. He just attacked Shikamaru directly. After the two of them entangled for more than 10 moves, when Shikamaru used Shadow Control to control Aburame Shino, Shikamaru suddenly spoke. "I admit defeat. I have no chakra." After saying that, he retracted the shadow and made a helpless expression. This sudden change surprised everyone. They didn't expect that Shikamaru, who seemed to have the upper hand, would suddenly use the technique. 0134072330, Phila 144320130. Shikamaru, this guy, how could he suddenly have no chakra? Ino clenched her fists, always feeling that she and others were fooled by Shikamaru. However, it was too late to say anything. Shikamaru had already conceded defeat, and Aburame Shino was confirmed to advance in this match. Chapter 68, Stubborn Hinata and Kamisato Tsukika, who can't help herself looking at Shikamaru, who admitted defeat. Kamisato Tsukika sighed in his heart and could only say that he was worthy of being Shikamaru. Only a guy who was afraid of trouble would admit defeat when he was sure of victory. However, it must be said that Shikamaru's IQ was really high, and Aburame Shino was not his opponent. After all, Aburame Shino is still very strong now. Although he is not as good as Sasuke Niji and Shao Li, it should be no problem for Aburame Shino to rank 4th among the 12 strong men of this period. However, he was still defeated by Shikamaru. As the duel between Shikamaru and Shino ended, the 4th duel began soon. In the original work, this duel was a duel between Kinmi-chung and Kankuro, but because Kankuro encountered Kamisato Tsukika in the first round, Kinmi-chung's opponent became Chai. Kinmi-chung's strength is not bad. After all, people who can become spies must have specialties. His ability is software transformation, which can soften and stretch various parts of the body freely to attack opponents. Chai's ability is the meat wheel chariot. In fact, in a sense, Chai is restrained by Ken Misumi. The outcome of this duel was not unexpected. Ken Misumi defeated the 3rd round of the Chunin exam. This made Sarutobi Asuma look a little ugly. After all, 2 of his 3 disciples have been eliminated, leaving only Ino. The 5th duel is back on track, with Haruno Sakura facing Ino. Although these 2 people are not incompatible because of fighting for Sasuke, like in the original book, as the #1 fans of Kamisato Tsukika and Uchiha Sasuke, the relationship between the 2 is not very good, and they have been fighting openly and secretly. It was not until Kamisato Tsukika became the chief sage that Ino completely gained the upper hand. However, the relationship between Ino and Little Sakura is not entirely a competitive relationship. Before they both liked Uchiha Sasuke, they were very good friends. Shing 138. This duel, in the eyes of ordinary people, is definitely not a particularly exciting duel, but for Ino and little Sakura, it is indeed a very important duel, a duel that completely untied the knot between the two. But the final result of a duel, just like in the original work, there is no winner or loser. Of course, in Moonlight Gale, these two were eliminated together. So far, the fifth duel is over. Sarutobi Asuma's face is even worse. After all three members of his class have been eliminated, and no one will be in a good mood. After the fifth duel, the sixth duel came immediately, and the two sides of the duel were Tintin and Temari. This duel can only be said that Tintin's luck is too bad, and he met an opponent who completely defeated him. Under Temari's wind style, Tintin's ninja tools can't play their due role at all. The power is greatly weakened, and it can't attack Temari at all. So the result was still as expected. Tintin was eliminated by Temari and became the first person to be eliminated in Might Kai's class. The eighth duel was between Naruto and Inuzuka Kiba. Regardless of the strength of the two, Naruto is a ninja who constantly creates miracles. In the case of successful promotion in the original work, it is natural that he won without any surprise. The two sides of the ninth duel were Hinata and Niji. This was a duel between Byakugan and Byakugan. This was also the first time that Kamisato Tsukika saw the 8 trigrams palms of the Hyuga clan. Hinata is the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan and the eldest daughter of the main family. She has had the best training resources since she was a child. The character who chatted with her is also the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, his father Hyuga Hayashi. And Hyuga is just an orphan of the branch house. His parents died when he was a child, and he can only rely on himself to practice everything. However, the strength of the two is not at the same level at all. Hinata is not an opponent of Hyuga Niji at all. After both of them used Byakugan, Hyuga Niji beat her to vomit blood in just a few moves. This made Kamisato Uehua frown. Is the strength of the main family really limited to this level? Hyuga Niji mocked coldly, letting the blood from Hinata's mouth drip onto the bandage on his arm. Why? Hinata obviously hid it completely. In the stands, Naruto spoke loudly in confusion, not understanding why the two people hit each other, but Hinata vomited blood, while Hyuga Niji was unharmed. It's not over yet. The hit Hinata spoke stubbornly in her heart, slapped Hyuga Niji's arm away with one hand, and attacked Hyuga Niji's face. However, she still underestimated Hyuga Niji's strength. Facing Hinata's attack, Hyuga Niji dodged sideways, grabbed Hinata's arm with one hand, and put 2 fingers together with the other hand to stab Hinata's wrist. Hyuga Niji reacted quickly to this attack, and the speed of counterattack was also very fast. Not only fast, but also steady, accurate, and fierce. The Genin and elite Genin present couldn't help but praise him in their hearts. Sarutobi Hiruzen even sighed in his heart that Hyuga Niji was worthy of being called the first genius in the history of the Hyuga family. In the field, after Hyuga Niji pulled up her sleeves, Hinata found that she was actually acupunctured. This shocked Hinata, because even if the Byakugan has a strong inside ability, it is not possible for everyone with Byakugan to see 6. She can't do this now, and Hyuga Niji, this brother who is only 1 year older than her, can not only see the acupuncture points, but also accurately acupuncture her. Bang! After another palm strike, Hinata was knocked back and fell, and Hyuga Niji came in front of Hinata, looking down at her. Miss Hinata, this is the gap that cannot be changed, and it is also the gap between the elite and the last. This is the fact that cannot be changed. You should be very desperate now. Give up. This is my last notice to you. Hyuga Niji's voice became cold, and at the end, he became stern. At this moment, many people thought that Hinata should indeed give up and admit defeat. The two were not opponents of the same level at all. However, Hinata stood up tremblingly, raised her head, looked at the people in the stands, and finally stayed on Kamisato Tsukika for a short second. Then Hinata retracted her gaze and looked at Hyuga Niji again. I have a reason that I can't give up easily. Hinata opened her mouth, but just after she finished speaking, she couldn't help spitting out another mouthful of blood. She was seriously injured, and now she has reached the limit of her body. and seeing Hinata so stubborn, Hyuga said no more and directly took an offensive posture. Seeing this, Hinata rushed towards Hyuga. Bang! Another blow. This palm, Niji hit Hinata's abdomen directly. Cough. This time, Hinata coughed up blood again and fell directly to the ground. You are really unreasonable. Your feat has not worked from the beginning. It's over. Hyuga did not lower his head to look at Hinata. It is not known whether he was distressed or disdainful. After he finished speaking, he turned around and walked away. Just when Moonlight Gale also thought that Hinata had lost the ability to move and had completely lost, Hinata moved. She once again, trembling and struggling to get up from the ground. This surprised everyone, and they couldn't help but admire Hinata's strength. It's not over yet. Hinata looked at Hyuga and said that she almost fell because of her unstable body. Her condition was already very bad. Her chakra was blocked by Hyuga acupoints. She had endured Hyuga attacks several times in a row. She couldn't even stand steadily, let alone continue to fight Hyuga. Don't be so stubborn. I can see that it's already very difficult for you to just stand. You have been carrying the fate of the Hyuga family since you were born, constantly resenting and blaming yourself for your incompetence. But people can't change it. This is fate. You don't have to make yourself suffer anymore. Just relax. Hyuga lowered his voice and said to Hinata. To be honest, he hated the main family, but for this weak and incompetent sister, he didn't know why he couldn't hate her. He had attacked so many times today, and although Hinata had vomited blood continuously, he had already shown mercy. If he really killed her, Hinata would have died countless times in his hands. So when he saw Hinata still standing up so stubbornly, he felt a little reluctant and wanted to ask Hinata to give up. But Hinata shook her head. No, Niji brother, because I can also see that you have been suffering more than me all along. In the fate of the main family and the branch house, the one who is confused and suffering is you. Hyuga was stunned by Hinata's words, and then a nameless fire came from the bottom of his heart, as if the deepest secret in his heart was revealed, and Hyuga was angry. If you're not from the branch house, how can you understand the pain of the branch house? As the eldest daughter of the main family, can you judge the people of the branch house at will? Hyuga lost his inner rationality, clenched his fists, roared and rushed towards Hinata, as if he was going to kill Hinata. This sudden change startled everyone. As the examiner, Geku naturally wanted to stop such behavior from happening. He quickly approached the two and said, Niji, the game is over. At the same time, someone on the stands also moved. Hinata's teacher, Kurenai Yuhi, elite Jnin Hataki Kakashi, and Might Guy, they also couldn't tolerate such a thing. It was easy for two elite Jnin-level ninjas to stop Hyuga. In the original work, Niji was stopped when he was about to approach Hinata. But this time someone was faster. Bang! Hyuga flew backwards at a faster speed than when he ran over, which surprised Kurenai Yuhi, Hataki Kakashi, Might Guy, and Geku who just arrived. Enough is enough. After Hyuga got up from the ground, Huali Uehua spoke to Hyuga coldly. Hyuga saw the 5 people around Hinata, did not speak, just wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and left without saying a word. He did not even return to the corridor of the platform, but walked out of the tower directly. On the corridor of the platform, Ino Shikamaru and Chai, Rock Lee and Tintin, Temari, and even Gaara all widened their eyes. Just now, Uehua-kun's speed seemed to be faster than Kakashi teacher and the others. Ino couldn't help but speak and looked at Chai, and they saw disbelief in each other's moonlight. They already knew that Kamisato Uehua was very strong, but now it seems that they still underestimated Kamisato Uehua's strength. So, Kamisato Uehua is already as strong as Jinin, or even stronger. At this moment, several people had an idea that they thought was ridiculous. In the field, several people returned to the corridor of the platform, but Might Guy went to Hyuga chased after him. You are too arrogant. It doesn't matter if you lose this kind of exam. Just try your best. There is no need to fight to the death. Kamiri Tsukika couldn't help but speak while using medical ninjutsu to treat Hinata's injuries. Although he knew that Hinata was a person with this kind of personality after reading the original book. According to his observation, Hinata didn't seem to like Naruto as much as in the original book. Why was she fighting so hard? Hearing this, Hinata just lowered her head and didn't say anything, but her face was already red. Because Hinata lowered her head very low, Kamri Tsukika didn't notice it. And Hyuga Niji is really a guy. He doesn't know how to be gentle, and he obviously won, but he broke down just because of your 2 words. His psychological endurance is too weak. Kamiri Tsukika continued to complain. He really couldn't understand some people's thoughts, especially the thoughts of Hyuga Niji, who was so talented and was praised as the most talented person in the history of the Hyuga clan, but bowed to fate so easily. Since he was so talented, he should find a way to unlock the caged bird by himself. If he couldn't unlock it, he should find a way to let the people of the main family unlock it. Fang Zheng had a lot of means. After all, the Tsutsuki clan on the moon was officially promoted to a branch house, right? As long as you work hard to find a way, there will always be hope. However, Hyuga Niji was obviously a member of the branch house, and he was so talented. It would be fine if he didn't hide his light, but he was so sharp that he deserved to be killed by Sangji Yazwang for 10 lifetimes. Brother Niji, he is not. Hinata spoke weakly. Although he was abused by Hyuga Niji, he still spoke well for Hyuga Niji. This made Kamisato Tsukika sigh inwardly. Hinata is still too kind, but it doesn't matter. He hit you so hard, and I kicked him hard. I'll just take it as revenge for you. Kamiri Tsukika said to Hinata with a smile. Huh? Will Niji brother be okay? Hearing Hinata's words, Kamisato Tsukika couldn't help rolling her eyes. This little girl is hopeless. Kamiri Tsukika talked and laughed with Hinata, and both of them seemed to be in a good mood. However, someone was not in a good mood. Yuhi Kurenai looked at Kamisato Tsukika and Hinata and felt a little sad in her heart for some reason, and she was a little upset. This emotion appeared strangely, but it appeared involuntarily. This made Yuhi Kurenai frown slightly. But soon, she sorted out her emotions. Continue to watch the next duel. 013407230 Philo 144320320, because the last duel of the day is about to begin. From Rock Lee and Gaara. Chapter 69, Final Showdown. Next opponent, Rock Lee versus Gaara. This is the last match of the preliminaries, and it can also be said to be the most exciting one. Everyone present knew that Gaara was very powerful, especially the 3 members of Team 8, who saw Gaara easily defeat a Rain Shinobi Village team. As for Rock Lee, the other little strong men didn't have much feeling for him. After all, when he encountered the Sound Village trio in the Death Forest before, Rock Lee didn't last long before he was knocked down and even fainted. So almost everyone has always believed that Gaara must be the winner of this match, and there is no suspense. The fact seems to be the case. After the game officially started, no matter how Rock Lee attacked, he was blocked by Gaara's sand. With Rock Lee's speed, it seems that he may not be able to break Gaara's defense, until Rock Lee untied the weighted bandage on his leg and smashed 2 deep pits in the examination room. Everyone was stunned. Temari, who had a disdainful look on her face, also widened her eyes and opened her mouth in surprise. Not only Temari, Naruto, little Sakura, except for Might Guy and Kamisato Tsukika, no one present could have imagined that Rock Lee would carry such a terrible burden at all times. And now he is free. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After removing the weight, Rock Lee's speed became noticeably faster. He seemed to have turned into a group of afterimages. He kept moving and attacking, making Gaara's sand flustered. Finally, at a certain moment, Rock Lee broke through Gaara's sand defense and kicked hard, hitting Gaara's head. This was beyond people's expectations, and they all looked at Rock Lee in disbelief. Even Uchiha Sasuke widened his eyes and stared at Sharingan. I can't believe that 377 actually hurt Gaara. Temari was shocked. She knew that since the 3 of them formed a team, she had never seen Gaara injured. No matter what the enemy was, it could not break through Gaara's sand defense. After injuring Gaara, Rock Lee did not stop attacking and asked Gaara to attack again. This time, just like before, Gaara's defense did not keep up with Rock Lee's attack and was attacked by Rock Lee again. This made everyone think that Rock Lee should have won this duel, but something strange happened. The sand armor on Gaara fell off, revealing his true form, and he entered another state. In Baki's words, another Gaara came out. Rock Lee also realized that Gaara was different. He knew that he couldn't drag it on and had to fight quickly. After making up his mind, Rock Lee used his ultimate move, the Lotus Flower. After a series of strong kicks, Gaara was kicked into the air by Rock Lee, and then he was wrapped in bandages. The two hugged each other and fell hard from the sky. Boom! A huge roar sounded, and Rock Lee, who had already pulled himself out, looked at Gaara in the shallow pit in front of him, whose body had cracked like ordinary porcelain, and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. However, soon, Rock Lee's breath was raised again, looking at Gaara's corpse with an unbelievable face. There was no human body there. It was just a pile of sand. What he just hit was just a sand clone. And just when Rock Lee was still unbelievable, Gaara appeared from behind Rock Lee. At this time, Gaara was more like One Tail than Gaara. Shikaku, but not completely One Tail Shikaku. It can only be said to be a very special state. Appearing from behind Rock Lee, Gaara smiled grimly and moved the attack, controlling the sand to attack Rock Lee madly. Because the previous Lotus Flower really consumed too much physical strength, Rock Lee was now a little exhausted and his reaction speed was much slower. So in just one shot, Hulk Lee was attacked by Gaara. However, facing Rock Lee, who seemed to have no strength left, Gaara, who had entered a special state, would not show mercy. He directly controlled the sand and continued to attack, giving Rock Lee no chance to resist. Now, all the Genin in Konoha were worried about Rock Lee, but because they could not interfere with the duel, they could only worry in the stands, watching Rock Lee desperately dodge Gaara's attack below. Watching Rock Lee, who was completely exhausted, being hit hard by Gaara's sand. It's over. This is what everyone thought at this time. Only Might Guy and Kamisato Tsukika knew that it was not over yet. Being Gaara's opponent is also bad luck for that watermelon. In the stands, Kankuro spoke. He had recovered from the trauma of the duel with Kamisato Tsukika, but he had not recovered completely. Kamisato Tsukika had become Kankuro's psychological shadow. No, Xiaoji will not lose the game because of this level of fighting. Might Guy has come back again. He spoke, and the people around him couldn't help but look at him. They didn't understand why Might Guy still said this now. After all, Rock Lee at this time seemed to have no power to fight back under Gaara's attack. Well, Xiao Li's strength is more than that. Kamisato Uehua also spoke. Although he hadn't fought with Rock Lee for more than half a year, Rock Lee had already opened the fourth gate of the 8 inner gates more than half a year ago. And now, he hasn't even opened the 8 inner gates. How can he be considered Rock G's strength? Hearing Kamisato Uehua's words, everyone was surprised again and couldn't help looking at the battlefield below, looking at Rock Lee to see what trump cards he had. Below, Rock Lee seemed to have heard Might Guy's voice, and it seemed that there was a special emotional connection between the master and the apprentice. He looked up and saw Might Guy smile. The whole person was revived with full blood and became agile again. After dodging several times, Rock Lee stopped. He took a deep breath, then crossed his arms in front of his face, and his body began to shake. Of course, this was not a real shake. Song was just a visual effect of the rising air current wrapping Rock Lee for others. Although I don't know what you're going to do, you are finished here. Gaara also knew that Rock Lee should use his trump card, but he didn't care because in Gaara's mind, this duel ended here. Yeah, no matter what, it will be over after this week. Rock Lee also spoke, and after he finished speaking, a strong aura appeared in the whole person, and his hair flew up to the sky. Blue chakra appeared from the soles of his feet, and Rock Lee looked very imposing in this moment. 0134072330 Philo 144320500. The third gate, the gate of life, open. However, it was not over yet. Rock Lee exploded again. Fourth gate, wound gate, open. A stronger momentum burst out from Rock Lee, but Rock Lee's face turned red. Everyone was shocked by Rock Lee's aura and knew that Rock Lee's body was probably bearing a great price at this time. On the field, after opening the fourth gate, Rock Lee took the initiative to attack. His body seemed to disappear from the spot in an instant, and he came under Gaara in almost an instant. With a fierce kick, he kicked Gaara, who was unable to kick before, very high in the air. And Gaara subconsciously chose to defend. But it was too late. Rock Lee had already come to Gaara in an instant. Seeing that Gaara condensed the sand armor, he continued to attack and smash Gaara's armor directly into pieces. When he realized that the time was almost right, Rock Lee burst out again in the air and opened the fifth gate. Then a sudden attack. This attack hit Gaara hard. But this was not the end. After this attack, Rock Lee launched his final trick on Gaara, the Lotus in the 8 Inner Gates mode, the Inner Lotus. This time, Rock Lee did not give Gaara the chance to escape with the sand clone, and actually let Gaara eat the complete Inner Lotus. Boom! Another huge roar. The floor of the examination room was hit hard again, and a huge deep pit was smashed. Rock Lee half-knelled on one side. At this time, he had come out of the 8 Inner Gates state. He was panting and looked extremely tired. Obviously, Rock Lee was really exhausted this time. If Gaara still had the ability to resist, then Rock Lee would not be able to continue to fight. But the fact was so cruel. Although Gaara, lying in the deep pit, was trembling and couldn't get up at all, he could still control the sand and attack Rock Lee. So, one of Rock Lee's arms and one leg were directly disabled by Gaara using the sand coffin. And Gaara was in a dominant position, and he wanted to continue to attack and kill Rock Lee completely here. At the most critical moment, it was Might Guy who rescued Rock Lee. In this way, this most exciting duel, a duel with twists and turns, was finally settled. Gaara defeated Rock Lee and passed the preliminaries of the third exam. So far, the preliminaries before the third round have also come to an end. Those who advanced to the third Chunin selection exam were Kamisato Tsukika, Uchiha Sasuke, Aburame Shino, Kin Misumi, Temari, Uzumaki Naruto, Hyuga, and Gaara. 18 people, and finally 8 successfully broke through and entered the final round. Including the first and second rounds, there were more than 150 candidates, and only 8 people entered the third exam. After Gekko Height announced the list of qualified candidates, Sarutobi Hiruzen appeared again and told the 8 people that the official competition would be held in a month or so. After explaining to everyone why the official competition would be held in a month, Sarutobi Hiruzen asked everyone to draw lots to decide everyone's opponent 10 months later. Naruto drew number 1, Hyuga drew number 2, so they were in the first match after the official competition. Kamisato Tsukika drew number 3, Temari drew number 4, and they were in the second match. Number 5 was Uchiha Sasuke, number 6 was Gaara, and they were in the third match. The last match was naturally between Kin Misumi, who drew number 7, and Aburame Shino, who drew number 8. This draw made Uzumaki Naruto excited, Uchiha Sasuke heavy-hearted, and Shokwai wanted to cry without tears. Among the 8 people in the whole game, the 2 opponents she least wanted to face were her own brother Gaara and Kamisato Tsukika, who killed her other brother Kankuro in seconds. However, her luck was so bad that she happened to draw Kamisato Tsukika. After the draw, everyone dispersed. After the show, Kamisato Uehua went to the hospital to visit Rock Lee. After the previous duel, the medical ninja of Konoha Hospital said that Rock Lee was seriously injured and might not be able to survive as a ninja in the future. This was a big blow to Might Guy. But Kamisato Uehua was not worried. After all, in the original work, Rock Lee's legs and feet were saved by Tsunade, right? Although Tsunade said that the success rate was not high before operating on Rock Lee. However, even if Tsunade can't do it, doesn't he still have Kamisato Uehua? With Kamisato Uehua, Rock Lee can really become disabled, right? Moreover, although the Hokage's broken hands and feet in the early stage are very serious injuries, they even affect the vitality of a ninja's career. But in the Boruto legend, broken hands and broken feet are not a big deal at all. Transplanting hands and feet is just a basic operation, and don't be surprised by the regeneration of broken limbs. The head can grow back in a few seconds after being swallowed by a snake. Broken arms and legs are really just child's play. When Kamisato Tsukika arrived at Konoha Hospital, Might Guy was already in the ward, and Tintin and Niji were also there. Teacher Guy. Kamisato Tsukika greeted Might Guy after entering the ward. It's Tsukika. You're great. You won beautifully today. It could be seen that Might Guy was not in a very good mood, but he still cheered up and responded to Kamisato Tsukika. I heard that Lee's condition is not very good, so I want to come and see him. Although I'm not very good, I should be able to do medical ninjutsu. Shinami Tsukika came straight to the point, and her words made Might Guy's eyes light up. At this moment, he was already desperate. Even though Shin Tsukika was only a 12-year-old boy, even though Shin Tion Tsukika should not have very good medical ninjutsu at her age, but Might Guy still couldn't help but grasp this glimmer of hope. Really? Then it's really troublesome for you. Let Shaoli take a look, Might Guy said, and quickly made way for Kamisato Tsukika. 5.0 So Kamisato Tsukika stepped forward in the eyes of Might Guy's nervousness, Hyuga Niji's hostility, and Tiantian's suspicion, and began to check Rock Lee's injuries. After a while, Kamisato Tsukika frowned slightly. How is it? Xiao Li's hands and feet. Can they be saved? Can he become a ninja again? Might Guy asked nervously. Kamisato Tsukika shook her head and then nodded. Lee's condition is indeed very bad. With my current medical ninjutsu ability, there is no way to get Lee back for the time being. Kamisato Tsukika spoke, and the words she said made Might's eyes darken. But Kamisato Tsukika continued to speak. Although I can't get Lee back, it's not completely impossible. Now there are two ways to choose. Two choices. Hyuga Niji spoke, and he was also nervous. He is like this, a very cold person on the surface, but actually a guy who is cold on the outside and warm on the inside. Well, the first thing is to find a medical ninja who can get Lee back. I think Mr. Guy has guessed who it is. When Kamisato Tsukika said this, Might Guy was stunned, and then his eyes lit up. You mean Master Tsunade? That's right. In the entire ninja world, if Master Tsunade's medical ninjutsu is second to none, then no one dares to claim to be first. I believe that with Master Tsunade's medical ninjutsu ability, he will definitely make Lee recover quickly. Kamiri Tsunade nodded. It was said before that in the original book, Lee was rescued by Tsunade. What about the second option? Hyuga Niji asked again. Hearing this question, Shunming Tsunade paused before speaking. The second option is to let Lee be like this first. Give me a year, and I will make Lee recover. As soon as these words came out, the ward suddenly became quiet. Chapter 70. Sasuke can't escape. When Might Guy and the other two heard Kamisato Tsukika say the second option, they suddenly became quiet and didn't know what to say for a while. You don't have to look like that. Anyway, Lee's hands and legs are not completely hopeless. There is still hope. Kamisato Tsukika spoke. He understood the reason for the silence of the three. After all, what Kamisato Tsukika said just now was too arrogant. Indeed, we can look for Master Tsunade while waiting for Tsukika to master more powerful medical ninjutsu. Might Guy spoke. Although he still didn't believe that Kamisato Tsukika could cure Xiao Li in a year, Might Guy would not directly deny Kamisato Tsukika. It's just that Master Tsunade has been away from Konoha for more than 10 years. It's not an easy task to find her. Might Guy frowned. He didn't think of Tsunade at the first time before because of this reason. Tsunade has been away from Konoha for too long. So long that many people have subconsciously ignored the existence of such a person. Anyway, I still have to thank you, Tsukika. I'm sorry for your concern about Lee. Might Guy expressed his gratitude to Kamisato Tsukika again. It was really important for Might Guy to hear this good news from Kamisato Tsukika. You're welcome, Mr. Guy. Shaoli is my friend. This is what I should do. Kamiri Tsukika spoke up. As he said, Lee and he were friends, and he couldn't just watch Lee lose his qualification to be a ninja. When Kamisato Tsukika visited Lee in the Konoha hospital, the two were talking in a courtyard somewhere in Konoha. I didn't expect that Sasuke wasn't cursed by Orochimaru. Did Orochimaru give up on Sasuke? Yakushi Kabuto spoke in confusion. He noticed that Uchiha Sasuke didn't have a curse mark in the examination room, and he was a little puzzled at the time. After all, One of the purposes of coming to Konoha this time was Uchiha Sasuke, and Orochimaru had made a lot of preparations for this. He shouldn't give up on Uchiha Sasuke easily. Orochimaru didn't answer Yakushi Kabuto's words immediately after hearing this, but asked Yakushi Kabuto a question. Kabuto, how much do you know about Kamisato Tsukika? As soon as these words came out, Yakushi Kabuto 30 was stunned. Did Lord Orochimaru shift his target from Uchiha Sasuke to Kamisato Tsukika? While guessing in his heart, Yakushi Kabuto had already answered, I don't know much about him. He is the chief student of Uchiha Sasuke's class. He was mediocre in the first 5 years of ninja school. In the last year, he suddenly worked hard and completed the transformation from an ordinary person to a genius. After graduating from ninja school, Kamisato Tsukika entered Umbu, but we have no way of knowing his experience in Umbu. But anyway, Kamisato Tsukika's strength is probably stronger than Uchiha Sasuke, or even much stronger. But Kamisato Tsukika doesn't seem to have any bloodline limit. Yakushi Kabuto told what he knew. He was actually quite curious about Kamisato Tsukika. No, you're wrong, Hua. Orochimaru smiled crookedly and continued with a deep look. Kamiri Tsukika's strength is not stronger than Uchiha Sasuke, but Kamisato Tsukika's strength is at the same level as mine. The reason why I didn't plant the curse seal on Uchiha Sasuke was because I was stopped by Kamisato Tsukika. What? Yakushi Kabuto widened his eyes in disbelief. How was it possible? Kamisato Tsukika's strength. He is less than 13 years old. Yakushi Kabuto found it a little difficult to accept the information Orochimaru said. After all, it was too incredible for a boy less than 13 years old to have the power comparable to Orochimaru. It doesn't conform to common sense at all. Kamiri Tsukika is a real genius, and he has many secrets. His physique, his practice, and many things are very interesting. If possible, I would like to get Kamisato Tsukika, but unfortunately, Kamisato Tsukika is not Uchiha Sasuke, and we can't get her just because we want her. Orochimaru said with some regret. He was really more and more interested in Kamisato Tsukika, especially after Orochimaru injured him with his soul charge. A true genius? I understand. So next, are we going to plant the curse seal on Uchiha Sasuke? Yakushi Kabuto suppressed his shock. Since Orochimaru emphasized that Kamisato Uehua was a true genius, then it is enough to show that Kamisato Yoka really cannot be viewed with common sense. Geniuses can always create miracles that make ordinary people amazed. Just like before Hitaki Kakashi, who would believe that a person could become a Chunin at the age of 12. Just like before meeting Uchiha Itachi, Yakushi Kabuto did not believe that a 13-year-old boy could easily cut off Orochimaru's arm. There is no doubt that Kamisato Uehua is a genius like Hitaki Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi, a real genius. What an enviable talent. Yakushi Kabuto sighed inwardly. You are very smart and know what I'm going to do next. Orochimaru nodded to Yakushi Kabuto with satisfaction. He liked to talk to smart people. After that, Orochimaru and Yakushi Kabuto disappeared from the spot. On the other side, Uchiha Sasuke returned home alone after the show, preparing to plan his next month of training to suppress bandits. 1 month later, his opponent is Gaara, who is a very strong opponent. After watching the duel between Gaara and Rock Lee, Uchiha Sasuke knew that he is definitely not Gaara's opponent now. He does not have the speed of Rock Lee to break through Gaara's sand defense. Maybe he can use Chidori to force a breakthrough, but it is too dangerous because if he fails to defeat Gaara with one blow, his arm may be wrapped in sand and completely crushed like Rock Lee today. So Uchiha Sasuke is under a lot of pressure. He wants to win the duel with Gaara very much. However, it is not without a chance. Thinking of Rock Lee's movements and physical skills that he copied with Sharingan, Uchiha Sasuke was excited. As long as he trains his body further, he should be able to have the speed of Rock Lee. At that time, he will be able to break Gaara's defense in the way of Rock Lee. Then, use Chidori to end the game. Thinking in his heart, Uchiha Sasuke was full of energy. Knock, knock. At this moment, the sound of knocking on the door rang out. Who? Uchiha Sasuke was puzzled. If it was Naruto, he would not knock on the door like this. He would knock on the door and shout his name. If it was little Sakura, he would knock on the door politely and ask, "Is Sasuke here?" If it was Kakashi, he would not knock on the door at all, but would appear at the window and directly speak out his purpose. 013407230 Philo 144330090. So, who is it? Uchiha Sasuke secretly hid a kunai in his sleeve and went to open the door. The moment the door opened, Uchiha Sasuke's pupils contracted, and he stabbed the kunai in his hand at the person outside the door. However, the person outside the door accurately grabbed Uchiha Sasuke's wrist, smiled crookedly, and said in a hoarse and very attractive voice, "Is this how Sasuke-kun treats guests?" When Uchiha Sasuke was found, it was already evening. He was found by the other members of Team 7. Because Team 7 agreed to gather in the afternoon, but Uchiha Sasuke did not go. This made Hatake Kakashi realize that something was wrong and rushed to Uchiha Sasuke's residence with Naruto and Haruno Sakura. Looking at the mark on Uchiha Sasuke's neck, Hatake Kakashi frowned. Orochimaru's target turned out to be Sasuke. Moreover, Sasuke was caught just after he separated from them. This made Hatake Kakashi helpless, because he knew that if Uchiha Sasuke was targeted by Orochimaru, the curse mark would appear on Uchiha Sasuke's neck sooner or later. It was just a matter of time. After all, with Orochimaru's strength, how many people in Konoha can stop him? And how can these people always follow Uchiha Sasuke? And once Uchiha Sasuke is left alone, or the people around him can't stop Orochimaru, then this curse seal will appear on Uchiha Sasuke's neck. Teacher Kakashi, what is this on Sasuke's neck? Is there any danger? Naruto asked with concern. Although he and Uchiha Sasuke often quarrel with each other and look at each other with dislike, they have a deep bond in each other's hearts. This is a curse seal. It is not clear what effect it has for the time being. We need Sasuke to wake up to know. Hatake Kakashi spoke, waking up Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke, are you okay? What's the matter with the thing on your neck? Seeing Uchiha Sasuke wake up, Naruto hurriedly asked Uchiha Sasuke again. Hearing this, Uchiha Sasuke frowned and couldn't help but touch the location of the curse seal with his hand. It was the man I met in the Death Forest before. He was very strong, and I had no ability to fight back. Uchiha Sasuke didn't know that it was Orochimaru. He was very upset when the curse seal was planted on him. I know. If nothing unexpected happens, the man you were talking about is called Orochimaru. Hatake Kakashi spoke, and then popularized the information of Sannin for the three people. Let's go to Konoha Hospital first. Although there is no problem now, it is a potential danger after all. Uchiha Sasuke nodded when he heard this. He didn't want his life and death to be in the hands of others. In this way, the group went to Konoha Hospital. When they arrived, they met Kamisato Tsukika, who had just come out of Rock Lee's ward. Tsukika, why are you here? Naruto asked in confusion. He didn't expect Kamisato Tsukika to be in Konoha Hospital. Come to visit Shaoli. What about you? You should not have any wounded, right? Why did you come to the hospital? Kamiri Tsukika was confused. He did not think about the curse seal on Uchiha Sasuke at first. Naruto. Just as Naruto was about to tell Kamisato Tsukika the reason, he was interrupted by Hatake Kakashi. The fewer people who know about the curse seal on Uchiha Sasuke, the better. Okay, you guys are busy. I've been in the hospital for most of the day, so I should go back. Seeing this, Kamisato Tsukika stopped asking questions, smiled, and talked to a few people, and left. But when she left, Kamisato Tsukika saw Uchiha Sasuke's pale face and his deliberately covered neck, and she immediately had a guess in her heart. Orochimaru, he was really quick to act. Sighing in her heart, Kamisato Tsukika didn't intend to intervene in this matter. Just as Hatake Kakashi worried, Uchiha Sasuke was targeted by Orochimaru. Even if he had the ability to stop Orochimaru, unless he let Uchiha Sasuke stay with him at all times, he would not be able to stop Orochimaru from planting the curse on Uchiha Sasuke. Of course, Kamisato Tsukika could also choose to solve the problem directly from the root, such as killing Orochimaru. But there was no need at all. This curse was not all bad for Uchiha Sasuke, and Uchiha Sasuke had another one. Brokon's brother? When Uchiha Itachi finds the curse mark on Uchiha Sasuke, he will definitely find a way to solve this problem for Uchiha Sasuke, and Kamisato Tsukika doesn't need to worry about this matter. After leaving Konoha Hospital, Kamisato Tsukika didn't really go home, but went to Umbu. The third-generation leader told Kamisato Tsukika before that Kamisato Tsukika didn't have to go back to Umbu after the Chunin exam, and there were other arrangements for him. But now the Chunin exam is not over yet. Kamisato Tsukika is naturally still a member of Umbu. After entering the familiar Umbu 6 class restroom, Yuzuki Yugao and the other three were surprised to see Kamisato Tsukika. Tsukika, I heard that you went to participate in the Chunin selection exam. Aren't you going to bully people? The candidates with you this year are too unlucky. Yamai Hisaji spoke, making Kamisato Tsukika smile helplessly. I don't want to either, the third-generation leader's request.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.